Welcome, one and all. It has taken us 3 weeks to get to this point, but we are finally here. The last day, the final series of the regular portion, at least, of this Division 2 tour here in the DPC. And after this, we will know exactly for certain who goes into Division 1. Well, who are going to be the tiebreaker teams to go into Div 1 and to be relegated from Div 2. We're going to be finding out a lot today. And of course, to help you bring you this action is Professor Fluke joining myself, Snare. Good sir, fam. It's been a long while. It felt like it's been 3 weeks, but it's felt like it's been a little bit more. So before we even get into the games themselves, what's been your collections, your recollections, your feeling about what the last few weeks have brought us in terms of Dota 2 action?
I think for me, over these last couple of weeks, it really has shown me that Dota isn't as cut and dry as kind of previous results have given us. You know, in a previous series, we were coming in with very hot favorites, and then at the end of the series, we were kind of scratching our heads about how some teams were able to get the dubs. And I think it really goes to show that Div 2 is always going to be competitive as long as you have that drive inside of you, as long as you have that motivation to be able to get towards the next spot and try and get yourself in towards Division 1. Yes, at the end of the day, this tour, if you are still stuck in Division 2, you don't have hopes of going to the final major of the year. But at the end of the day, if you're still improving and still getting better, maybe you might get promoted at the end of the year. And that might mean that your TI run is going to be a red hot one to be able to go in towards the biggest competition that we have at the end of the year.
I mean, TI, of course, beckons for a lot of these squads, but to give some particular reference to what Fluke was mentioning here about some of the upsets we've seen here in the division, let's take a quick look at what things looked like on Sunday evening when we had a triple header. Several very intriguing games. The first one, Ivy versus Team Secret. This was a very impactful game because Ivy was playing to remain in the division. Team Secret was playing to get themselves into Division 1. And although Team Secret did end up getting the victory and booking their ticket to join Div 1 yet again, it didn't come easy. This is a 2-1 victory that if you'd asked anybody from Team Secret, they would not have envisioned going 2-1 up against this Ivy squad. This was a team looking at the bottom of the division, but something that you said and that we've referenced several times throughout this tour, Fluke, is that anybody can beat anybody, and Team Secret were honestly not that far away from having to go through tiebreakers if they wanted to book their slot into Div 1.
Yeah, definitely. That game number 1 was a little bit more clinical from Team Secret. They had an idea, they executed it, and they really put Ivy to the sword. But this game number 2, they started to show some weakness. They had a few issues going high ground. They didn't really execute it the way that they wanted to. Ended up being a 77-minute absolute banger of a series where we can see here that Ivy are starting to slowly push them outside of their base. But as soon as this game gets in towards like that 50-plus minute mark, it's all about the decisions that you make. And sometimes it can really just be, you know, some of those small mistakes really start to pile up against you, and I think Ivy showed that they still had the soul to be able to stay in Division 2 here, but unfortunately for them, going down in this series after this second banger game was really, really hard for them to be able to come back and have that extra bit of effort for that game number 3. But I mean, props to them to putting Team Secret to the sword here, forcing them to be able to play at their absolute limits here for 77 minutes. And it would have been nicer if we got a little deeper into game number 3, but at the end of the day, you know, being a 26-minute GG there for Team Secret really goes to show that sometimes at the end of the day, the stronger team will win in a best of 3. And then Team Secret, they secure themselves a Div 1 slot in first place as well.
Yep. Guaranteed first place. No matter what happens, Team Secret are going to be taking the pole position, which not only means that they get into Div 1 first out of all these teams, but that means that they get the most money out of it in the form of $17,000 in prize pool. The second series we saw on that day, D2 Hustlers versus Ancient Tribe. We're going to be having a run back of this matchup tomorrow. And the reason why we have a run back is because Ancient Tribe took this victory. They got themselves the dub. They forced a tiebreaker situation. But not only did they do that in very intriguing fashion, grabbing a 2-0 over a team that felt like one of the strongest in the division, they also debuted a new build on this Alchemist. Instead of going in for all these armor items, just going in for like raw HP on this hero. And I must say, Fluke, this looked really, really good. You weren't very happy initially to see this like non-AC build on the Alchemist, but it felt like it won you over by the time we got to the end of the evening.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it did, and I was saying throughout that series, I was like, I really feel like that, you know, some of these armor items are going to be a little better, but I think Little Pleb showed that not only do you get the extra raw HP, but it's also the damage from the Alchemist that is very, very important, and if you're able to survive a lot of this burst, then at the end of the day, you can have a lot of these aura items be able to be built around you, and that's exactly what Ancient Tribe did. They did a really, really good job at keeping their Alchemist alive in a lot of these different games. You can see here in this fight, the fact that Mobe was able to sit back and abuse Bad Juju to constantly keep getting these shallow graves going on and off and on and off. And it was kind of crazy that they came into this second game with a little bit of a different draft. They went for this position 4 Monkey King with a Dazzle mid up against the Atlantic Puck. And you could tell that the pressure started to really build up against D2 Hustlers, because this was a series that they wanted to win. They didn't have to win. At the end of the day, they still have tiebreakers to play, but you could tell that they really wanted to try and get this this one finish in a neat little bow to finish out their tour, because if they're able to win that, then they're guaranteed to go up a division with Team Secret. But now we've got tiebreakers tomorrow, and this was another series that we looked at where we said, you know, if PuckChamp were able to get a dub up against Into the Breach, then they definitely could have been able to force tiebreakers as well, depending on the result of this next series. But it's exactly what they did, and they came and they fought in their final game of the tour.
Yeah, a do or die situation for the side of PuckChamp. Not only did they manage to get the victory here in this series, but they also revealed to us some very different and new strats. Obviously, it's a new patch, so pretty much every game is a revelation of new strats. Initially, it did seem like ITV just had their number. They knew exactly what they were going to be able to do, but PuckChamp, it took them a little bit of time, but this game 2 is where it really started to kick off. Them being allowed to have the Muerta. We heard from them directly that they feel like they got a free game out of this. Kidara was like, I have no idea how we got Muerta, but they got him. They got her rather. She got the W here. I have a feeling we're not going to be seeing much of this hero from PuckChamp at the very least. Not all these teams have played much Muerta, even in their pubs, but in this rematch, well, if today OG end up losing to Alliance and they have to play against PuckChamp, first ban, first pick is going to be the Muerta, because this hero just looked ridiculously busted in this series.
Yeah, the hero looks very, very strong, and it was our first showing of the hero, and ever since we haven't been able to see it since. So I'm excited to see if whether or not teams are going to try and have ideas against the Muerta. There has been some things that I'm looking at right now across some of the players in our next series about some counters to that hero, which we potentially could be seeing, but we'll get to talk about that in the drafts. And the fact that, again, this game went all 3 series. This final game was 67 minutes as well for PuckChamp to be able to finish that one out. So they had the longevity to be able to close it up against Into the Breach, who looked like they're on a bit of a hot streak. I think RTB definitely kicking themselves not to be able to get that one done. But at the end of the day, didn't really matter for them to win the series.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it really meant a lot for PuckChamp. You can see here on the ladder the fact that we've still got 1 game left of the tour, and Alliance, they can finish 3 and 4, the same as Into the Breach. And then if they do that, then OG are able to get themselves away from tiebreakers. But at the end of the day, we really are looking towards this final series to try and bring us all the goods.
As you're saying, there's one last series remaining. Looking at this leaderboard, it would amaze you to learn that the matchup that we have tonight between Alliance and OG, there's several ramifications for this match. If Alliance is able to get themselves the W, that means that we have a tiebreaker tomorrow between OG and PuckChamp in order to remain in Division 2. However, if OG win this match, then we're going to have a tiebreaker between OG, Alliance, and Into the Breach just to be able to get the 4th to 6th placements. PuckChamp will be automatically eliminated, and y'all might think, who cares about 4th to 6th in Division 2? There's $4,000 in between this, and you know, unless you're an Alliance squad who has this long history, decent salaries, you know, going back way into the past, you know, some of these up-and-coming teams, they could use that little bit of extra payday. $4,000 is nothing to sneeze at, and that's the difference between coming 6th and coming 4th, so you certainly want to play for it. There's quite a lot to go for here in this upcoming series because it changes a lot for many of these squads. Right now, of course, between OG and Alliance, we don't know necessarily exactly how things are going to shake out. I imagine the odds are going to be favoring Alliance a little bit, and if you do see those odds, as you've seen throughout the entire tour flashing on your screens, those odds are brought to you by esportsbet.io, who are our partners here in the DPC, making sure that we have these games not just provisioned, but in a sustainable fashion. And of course, if you want to be a part of that sustainable action, you can get yourself involved in the Watch to Earn platform, a new side of things being launched by esportsbet.io. And what that means is that if you log onto the platform, for every hour that you spend engaged in watching the game, you earn 3,000 tokens, the equivalent to about $3, and that allows you to just do whatever the hell you want with it. Of course, there are further bonuses available through the platform itself, and you are just going to be doing what you'd be doing anyway. You were already going to be watching Dota, you were already going to be involved in the DPC, so you might as well get some money out of it. You don't have to bet, you don't have to stake any money down in order to do so. The reward just comes in the opposite direction. So don't just be a spectator, be a participant in this DPC action, and go to esportsbet.io and join the Watch to Earn platform in order to get more bonuses out of this DPC run. Going into the series, Master Fluke, we see these odds heavily, not heavily, but slightly favoring the side of Alliance. However, OG, we spoke about this on the last broadcast day, that they will not be playing with Resolution. They have Aramis, who just recently stood in for Tundra, looked very good doing so. And now he's going to be standing in for the side of OG, as Resolution will be standing in for BetBoom at the major right now. With the draft is about to kick off, OG playing on Radiant side with first pick, Alliance on Dire with second pick. Who is going to have the advantage here, and how much of an impact is having a stand-in going to do to the side of OG?
I think it's an interesting stand-in for them to be able to get, right? Like, they get Aramis, who had a very sick performance in Dream League, to be able to put himself in towards the top 4. So I'm excited to see what he's going to look like now here on this OG roster. Seb has been absolutely spamming the crap out of offlane in his pubs. He's a TI winning offlaner, so at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters all too much for OG. The only thing will be a little bit of chemistry. Some of his heroes really do fit well with the OG style as well. Things like his Bounty Hunter and his Riki are going to be very, very important for them, even the Mirana. So I think OG have... I don't think it's going to be too much of a disruption for them, because they have been one of the only teams that hasn't played an official on the patch just yet. So it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to bring up. And I really like this draft between these two teams, because I really feel like this patch for OG is going to benefit them a lot with the way that gold works with fighting. If you're able to fight yourself back into a lot of these games, you really be able to come back from a lot of these lane deficits. But they're all really good laners as well. And some of their really big heroes as well have started to come back in the meta. The Alchemist being one of the first bands coming in from Alliance. I think no one is one of those standout Alchemist players, and OG of the past have been a team that has really been able to abuse the Alchemist. So I really like that this is going to be one of the opening bands. Maybe we might see like a Chen or a Muerta here. Could be a nice little band from Alliance, because you really want to make sure that OG don't have these tempo heroes to be able to run over the top of you with.
Listen. S4 won a TI off the back of a Chen. He can recognize when it's a good Chen patch. He's going to ban this hero every single series. Although that does mean they give away the Enchantress. You and I have spoken several times about how good the jungle is right now. And this Enchantress hero not only allows you to get access to the jungle, but also provisions damage in her own right, which is really necessary right now. One of the good points that you mentioned the other day is how much tankier every single hero is in the meta. Stuns are less prevalent, so you need to make sure that you have as many sources of damage as possible. Edge fits that bill, but Alliance, they come back for one of the heroes that S4... There's been 3 heroes that S4 has looked decent on. He looked amazing on Centaur, really good on the Tidehunter, and pretty good on the Underlord. So I like the fact that Alliance get this as early as possible. And I forget which series we did, but you brought up the fact that Alliance only tends to win if they get S4's hero in the first phase. So I'm glad that they've done so for this particular series so far.
Yeah, I think he really shines on a couple of his good heroes, and maybe hasn't really been able to flex his muscles as of late in the offlane with some of these much more different offlane heroes. So that's why I like that they've opened it up here with the Underlord and the Rubik. Not too hard to counter. I think not too easy to counter. Pardon me. I think there is one of those heroes that can really come up has been the Slark as of late. But I'm not sure whether or not OG want to try and play around something that can potentially be a little slower in the Slark, and especially with, you got a hero like the Void Spirit that Thompson has literally just been spamming. I was having a look at some of his matches previously. He has played the most out of Void Spirit out of any other hero that he's ever played. I think it was like 47 games or something like that he's played on Void Spirit, and he has a really high win rate with this hero as well. He's tried a whole lot of different stuff. There's a lot of different things that's floating around, and I think if anybody can make Void Spirit work, it's going to be Thompson. But this just means now that Alliance are able to protect the Underlord with like MK ban, and then they can try and get one of these other bans for the safe lane of OG. I'm surprised that Muerta hasn't been touched, because both Charlie as well as No One have been playing a decent amount of her. Neither of them really have a crazy win rate with her, to be honest. So it could be one of those things where maybe those two players really don't feel like that she fits their playstyle.
I'm also very curious to see this Void Spirit. You and I were talking off air about this hero, and I was forced to admit that having Void Spirit in my team has been a very easy source of MMR recently, but I refuse to admit that Void Spirit's a good hero. Despite winning with it in my team almost every game, I will not admit it's a good hero. And what's funny enough is all the Void Spirits I've been playing with have literally been emulating the Thompson build with the double bracers, power trades, and phylactery, but I still refuse. And then Thompson will win with it, then I'll be like, okay. For a game like this, what do you think about... We've seen Alliance sometimes shift this Rubik into the 5 position for Hanskin. How do you feel about Ponlo playing either Disruptor or Lion? I think I want either an instant disable from the Lion, or I want like AoE silence versus this Void Spirit and a way to drag him back into some awkward situations. How would you feel about that?
I think a lot of those supports are really good. I think his Earth Spirit is another one that we can potentially be seeing coming out of here from Alliance. They do just cover their Underlord. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm not sure how I feel about Lion currently. I'm not quite sure your feelings on this hero, but maybe I think he needs a few more buffs because with everyone being slightly tankier and Magic Resist being where Magic Resist is, I feel like he could still potentially be abused as a hero.
The only thing I have with Lion is that the hero is still a little bit too squishy, but he got a couple of interesting buffs. Like his cast range is better on the Hex, which is really, really good. And you get on the Earth Spike, the projectile got massively increased in terms of its movement speed. It's so fast now. It's actually kind of an instant stun right now. Yeah. So what I like about it is that you can initiate with the Earth Spike and then only come in with the Hex afterwards. Makes it a lot easier. But you know, like you mentioned, the hero itself, it still needs a few adjustments because they did massively nerf the stun duration of all the spells, but that's just everybody right now. They do get Crystal Maiden, which does mean that there's a very high likelihood of an 18th pick Ember Spirit for Twen in the mid lane. For OG, let's see here. Heroes that eat Rubik and CM alive. Do we want to see a Lycan potentially from the off lane or like some Beastmaster to just run these heroes down when you have the chance?
Yeah, definitely think that you can try and go for some of these Zoo heroes. The one thing is, obviously, CM with Frostbite does really well into some of those Zoo heroes, and you already have the Enchantress, so you may not want to try and double down on something like that. You could also... I'm not sure if people have really cottoned on to Night Stalker just yet. I think this hero is kind of sleeper. I felt like he was nichely good in the previous patch, but now he's had a little bit of his Aghanim Scepter rework, so he has like this little void zone that he can play around with, and the fact that you know, he's much faster at nighttime now with the fact that everyone gets a little bit of that nighttime boost, and it's very easy for him to gank as well. I think that was kind of one of his issues, is he still needed to farm some of his items, but he also wanted to gank as soon as that 5-minute mark did hit. So it does make it a little bit easier for him to play in some of those lanes, but they're just going to go for a hero that has the inbuilt BKB, one of the heroes, one of the few heroes in the game right now that has a decent amount of magic resist through debuff immunity, has been the Rage and the Spin. So Lifestealer is kind of one of the final heroes up against the Underlord that you can pick, but they still do have a decent amount of lockdown for Alliance, and it's going to be pretty hard for them to try and fight this next. You can kind of just go for a Troll now if you want to as well. One of those heroes that just deals well with the lifesteal. You can build BKB. You can also use items now while you're ulted. So that's a good change. I still don't know if it's the right change for the hero, especially because you kind of just lose control. But at the end of the day, you can still pop your BKB. You can Manta. You can Abyssal Blade. Like, you can do all kinds of stuff now while you're ulting, which is a nice little change to Troll Warlord.
Yeah, Troll is massively improved. You were clamoring for some changes to the hero. I don't think the changes were as sweeping as you might have desired, but still certainly good enough to make the hero much more viable than he was in the prior iteration. This Lifestealer, one thing that worries about me about this draw from OG, and some suddenly Ember Spirit's even better. Dude, where is their instant disable? Until they buy like some Abyssal Blade on Lifestealer, if you play a mobile / very difficult to catch hero, you just have a free game. Honestly, I don't even want Ember Spirit anymore. I want Storm Spirit. You pick Storm in this game, there's no catch for you. You just do whatever the hell you want. Just zip this way and that. Just put as much pressure onto OG as humanly possible. I do like this Lifestealer for the laning phase though against the Underlord. One of the better heroes even when you have the Atrophy Aura against you, thanks to the Feast. But Alliance, now they know so many of the matchups. This mid lane, I think you just pick a Twen hero now, and you say, Charlie, bro, honestly, it doesn't really matter what hero we pick for you. And there we go. Dude, this is such a good Storm game. My God, this is such a good Storm game.
Yeah, I think any of the spirits would have been good. You could even, maybe if you felt a little spicy, go for something along the lines of like a Puck. But I think the Storm just gives you that extra bit of jump in the back line. It gives you that extra carry potential as well. I think Puck these days, it still is a very, very scary hero to be able to go up against, especially in a free game. But Storm is one of those heroes that can really snowball super hard. And with the way that the meta is starting to tend towards, has been quite fight heavy, and you can fight over these objectives as well. The thing is with Storm is, you know, you can kind of just start to farm these side lanes once the mid lane does does peter out. You can go into the twin gate, you can get all the way towards bottom. You don't have to waste a lot of your mana and a lot of your resources to get down into some of those objectives. And Roche has been a pretty big thing for Storm in these last couple of patches as well. So it is a nice Storm game, very, very good Storm game. They just need to make sure they now protect it with an offlaner that can kind of catch him. Things like Beastmaster is very, very scary. Just a lot of these like blink instant disables for the Storm, because outside of the Storm, there's nobody really else lock down right now if you are old G. All your stuns and all your disables are going to be directed directly towards this Storm. You need to make sure that he gets out relatively scot-free.
How do you feel about, since this is Seb playing from the offlane, right? We have to consider his heroes. And the best heroes that he's played in terms of being able to have that instant kind of catch is probably Magnus. Doesn't feel like the best mag game in the world. But I was thinking about Axe potentially here. Be a carrier so that there's a dual carry for the Lifestealer Infest, but crucially so that you have the instant disable onto the Storm Spirit. Instant disable, a couple of hits of Impetus and or Void Spirit and or Snap or Lifestealer will always set you up for the Culling Blade. And of course you eat these, like it's a bit rough versus Rubik Crystal Maiden, but if you ever catch them, they just die, like immediately. Like they just have no counterplay against you. Is that something that could potentially be on the cards for OG?
Yeah, I'm not sure where Axe kind of sits right now in the offlane power tier, just because of the way that they changed Counter Helix to now not be pseudo-random, it's like attacks.
Yeah.
For it to spin, he does do more damage early on, so it could be something they're looking towards. I would really love to see them pick Legion Commander. Ooh, I think LC with the Blink Duel is going to be very, very important. It is a good Lincoln's game for the Storm, to be honest, but at the end of the day, I think LC and Underlord are going to be the two offlaners that we're going to be seeing a whole boatload of, especially when you've gotten rid of things like Ursa, Monkey, and Slark. Like, those heroes are really kind of problematic for the LC, but you can always protect yourself to be able to get around some of these other carriers that maybe Charlie is thinking of. A lot of his illusion carriers has been gotten rid of, and they do get rid of it. And they're just going to go for a Nyx Assassin. Is this like a
Snap
It's
off?
probably an Aramis Nyx.
Yeah.
I think it's Snap Off, yeah.
I don't think Nyx Assassin, I think Nyx is best moving around the map. I don't think you can invest that much gold in her, so alright. Seb Snapfire. It's not the easiest catch in the world. However, Nyx has always been historically one of these heroes that you like playing into Storm Spirit. It's AoE stun. Like, there's a lot of uncontrollable damage between Underlord and Crystal Maiden, so you can always use Spike Carapace against them. Similar story against Storm Spirit if you can catch them with like a random remnant in the middle of the fight. I'm still, if I'm honest, I only trust, there's only two players on planet Earth that I'm like, this is a good Nyx game for them. And that's PYW and Kaka. If it's not those two guys, I'm like, I don't know. I can see it though in this game. There's three int heroes who can get burned heavily. Underlord, like I mentioned, has uncontrollable damage and hates having his mana burnt away. It gives them some scouting potential. It's another vehicle for the Lifestealer. But I am uncertain about this. So first talk to me about this Nyx Assassin, and then tell me how on earth they deal with this Terrorblade, because this looks like a phenomenal Terrorblade game for Charlie.
Oh, it's a Seb Nyx Assassin. So this is going to be an offlane Nyx Assassin. Okay.
I'm not with it.
So the thing is with Nyx is when he gets level 1 Dagon, he has a huge, I think it's like 2.2k burst damage at like level 10 or something like that with Nyx, with like max Impale and max Mind Flare. The amount of damage you're able to do with this hero is kind of nuts.
Yeah.
And as you said, you're able to catch out a lot of these heroes. I do like the fact that they've put themselves with two heroes that can kind of, they can be even when it comes to net worth, right? Like, it's not like you're just going to get Aramis to make a rotation towards the mid lane or towards the safe lane, and then Seb's going to be left on an island. I think it is more about, like, Aramis and Seb going to be playing together. They get that level 6, they get a few items out on the Nyx Assassin, and then they can kind of run around in this little gank squad and try and find the Storm in the jungle, try and find the Terrorblade in the jungle, and that's how they're going to try and play the game. OG, they need to play really, really fast. They need to play this game at an insane pace, because once this Terrorblade starts to come online, it does really well with the Lifestealer, because he's going to be able to go into the Skadi. He does have some issues with the Void Spirit, but they've got enough lockdown to be able to deal with the Void Spirit in these team fights. So if this game starts to go later, they're going to get outscaled super hard. Storm and TB, once this game gets super late, are going to be able to outcarry anything that OG have. But OG do have some very, very high-tempo heroes that are able to abuse the way that the map is being played right now. My one issue with Nyx is the map is so large that I'm not sure if he's going to be able to find the heroes that he needs at the right time without being in a poor spot for OG. So I'm really going to be looking intently at Seb to see how he plays and how he plays around with Aramis. But at the end of the day, it is all about surviving and getting into the late game here for Alliance.
Let's see if they can make that happen and get themselves into the late game for Alliance, or if, like many before them, they'll get ran over by OG in the earlier portion of the game. Of course, OG need this W, otherwise they'll find themselves tomorrow playing tiebreakers just to remain in the division. And for Alliance, it's an academic game, only a few $1,000s at stake by winning this particular tie. Nothing important for a team that has a TI win under their belt. But we'll see how it all pans out, because for OG, as mentioned, they need this. Alliance don't, but they need this to make sure that they're ready for the next tour and crucially for the TI qualifiers. We'll see how it all shakes out between the two squads here as game number 1 is getting underway. Let's see what happens. So far, so good. We haven't had any big skirmishes happening early on. It's been interesting. The first couple of games you saw on the patch, every game was like 4, 5-on-5, smoke into smoke action, but this seems to be the case whenever we have a new patch, that after a little bit of time with the map changes, everyone's like, you know what, let's just have normal lanes, bro. It's chilled. Let's not go too crazy. Let's just try and figure out this game, because we're pretty much all learning from scratch.
Yeah. And usually when a new patch does drop, it's a big thing for a lot of these teams to just kind of fight their way into the patch and try and figure out what's good and what's bad. So I feel like now that we've seen a decent amount of professional Dota on the patch, obviously with the major starting tomorrow as well, we've got a whole lot of extra matches to be able to watch. So I feel like this this series here is probably going to be a little more normal from what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Still is going to be crazy, the fact that we've got an offlane Nyx Assassin that's going to be playing with the Snapfire. We've still got the Twin Gate. We've still got all the whack stuff from the patch, but I still think it's going to be a little more normal for us to watch out this time around.
By the way, as Fluke is mentioning, because the major starts tomorrow, the tiebreakers will be happening around the same time as the first major games. And who cares about the first games of the group stage? We'll make sure that you're here on PGL Dota 2 to watch these tiebreaker games. But let's see how this game is going to break out. Yeah, first game of the group stage, first day, whatever, who cares? Top lane, 7 Aramis will be playing against Hansker and Charlie. You know, as much as I can feel there's potential for this Nyx Assassin to have a lot of influence later on in the game, as much as you have tons of regen in the laning phase, I cannot envision them realistically threatening Charlie's life unless he massively outplays or underplays this lane. Should be perfectly A-OK on the CB.
Yeah, I think they need to wait till like level 3 for them. If they get 2 levels in the Scatterblast, 2 levels in the Impale, and maybe 1 level in the Mind Flare, they could be pretty scary to be able to deal with, especially into a TB who has very, very low starting strength. So that is something that OG are definitely going to be looking towards here in this lane, but now Seb is in trouble.
Nice. Got themselves a first blood. It's not just on a regular Nyx Assassin Fluke, it's a offlane Nyx. So getting this additional gold feels very, very good. And one of the great things about Nyx Assassin is his regen. Natural amounts of absurd regen. Normally assists him in staying alive in the laning phase, but not going to be the case here. Ends up dropping his first blood. You feel even better as Charlie because then you didn't pop your meta for nothing. You actually got something out of it. Feels amazing.
And you can see now just spamming out the reflection. It's very, very hard for Seb to deal with, right? Because he just constantly gets right-clicked by his own illusion that he can't really deal with. And the spam from both these two heroes is something that most people really don't talk about. Is the laning phase from a Terrorblade is actually pretty good now with the reflection. It was good in the past, but now that the reflection slows attack speed as well, it means that you can kind of mess up a lot of people's last hitting abilities in these lanes. So it means that Charlie as well as Han's going to have a pretty good lane to be able to spam out these heroes.
Mid lane, one of the other lanes that we saw being spammed a little bit. So far, Trin is doing decently, but as usual, mid is going to be boring as hell. No need to pay attention to there, at least until level 5. It's all about these side lanes. We haven't looked bottom in a bit, you know. S4 and Ponlo on the Underlord and Rubik versus No One and Kitrak. Top lane, I don't think we'll get a kill on this next wave just yet. I'm kind of surprised they didn't try and make an aggressive play bottom, but I guess it's because S4 doesn't have Pit of Malice just yet, so feels a bit weird to try and get a kill if you only have Telekinesis. And they don't even have that yet. They have 1 point in Fate Bolt, and Ponlo is holding the skill points, deciding what he needs for the lane.
Yeah, it's one of those lanes that traditionally has been pretty good with the Rubik and the Underlord, because you've got the double attack damage mitigation with the Fade Bolt as well as the Atrophy Aura, but no one is kind of happy as a Clam down here. He doesn't have to get the Rage all too early. He's got himself a few levels in the Feast and the Ghoul Frenzy, so this lifesteal is going to have a pretty free time in this bottom lane. If he does get caught out, that is, I feel like probably going to be a mistake from that lane, but top lane, Aramis.
Is he dead? Yeah, he's dead. Creep might kill him, and that might give the gold over towards just the Dire side in general, but nope, it's Charlie that collects the kill. Gets his first one of the game. Last time out it was an assist, now it's just a heads-up kill. TB, feeling good, man. Like, you got the kill onto Nyx earlier, now you bring down this Rubik. Bottom lane, yeah, you're not stopping no one from farming, but it's not like your Underlord is being stopped from farming himself. He's not even gonna die here, like, or rather he shouldn't die. Like, I'll be amazed if he dies here, and he doesn't. He'll be fine. Punlo does eventually level up the telekinesis, dragging back no one, who has no point into the rage just yet. And that'll allow S4 to still maintain presence in the lane. He's also about to pick up the Vanguard, so once that arrives, absolutely no chance of killing S4 unless he makes a huge misplay.
That's what I was going to say. As soon as you get Vanguard on this hero, you are nigh unkillable most of the time with Atropure at level 2 and the Vanguard, so that's all S4 is going to try and aim for right now. He's just going to try and get himself towards this Vanguard, and then he should be okay. You can always just fall back and farm the crit to Firestorm. So Alliance, they're pretty happy with how these first 4 minutes have gone here. A lot of their lanes are going relatively well. A lot of them are quite even. Oh, I was going to say, is Chuan going to try and get a kill here on Thompson?
He's fine, dude.
Okay, they're okay.
It's pre-level 6. Nothing happens in this lane pre-level 6. You know how many times I've seen this and gotten jebaited? How many games I've casted wasting my breath thinking, oh, something's gonna happen, and then nothing does. So, not today, boys. Not today.
It's always exciting to just be gasping and exclaiming at anything a mid laner does. But yeah, I think Alliance are pretty happy with how this is going. Their mid and their off lane are going relatively even, whereas their off lane, their safe lane is the one that's really starting to streak ahead here. Seb has
might actually
not
have
much.
Oh, Pondlo almost got the kill. If they could get, if this was daytime and they had straight vision of the Thompson Void Spirit, he'd actually be dead right now. But dude, I love how many times we've seen this lately. The difference between the map terrain means that nighttime makes a huge influence on the map. And now they're all gonna jump Thompson. They're like, well, if one support isn't enough, bring them both over. We will ensure that we find the kill. They didn't necessarily need the Crystal Maiden, but they do get the kill before the Void Spirit picks up level 6. So, great grab. Chuan now picks up a rune and is going to head over towards bottom with the double damage. The first target might be Aramis, but Aramis kind of ruins the gank because they don't want to blow the double damage rune just on the Snapfire. So they just go back to farm. It'll be okay.
Yeah, he didn't have full enough mana pool to be able to get that kill. They're going to try and gank Seb here. Charlie's behind the tower with Hanskin.
I feel like there's no way Seb dies here. Ring of Health on the Nyx Assassin? There's just no way. They might go for Aramis instead, but I think they realized a little bit too late that the Nyx Assassin is far away. And one of the things you mentioned was about how this Nyx Assassin was going to play with the additional space. One of the things, it's harder to gank, sure, but it also means it's harder to catch this hero. But now they caught him. He didn't end up juking all the way to safety here, Fluke. He will get punished for this one. The jump comes in from Aramis with the Fire Snap cookie, but that might have just only doomed the Snapfire. They have a Conjure Image, but no reflection for another 10 seconds. So they have no way to slow down the Sapphire, who will be able to escape.
Yeah, he had a big wand as well. He's going to try and kill Thompson one more time here with Ponlo, but I think Ponlo may be the sacrifice.
Surely Ponlo dies here. Yeah, like surely. Dude, he's doing... Oh no, he's actually going to do it. Dude, I was talking to you about this build before the game. The double bracer on Void Spirit. I think he's actually going to do it. It looks like it.
It's pretty good. I mean, getting yourself the extra strength is very, very important for these heroes that kind of need to be in the middle of the fray. And that's going to be very, very important for Void Spirit here to be able to stay alive, make these rotations early on to be able to try and kill this Terrorblade who is having a fantastic time.
Yep. His times get even better right now as he's involved in an assist. They bring down Aramis. Hanskin is the one credited with the kill, but Charlie gets an assist. Bro, 51 CS and involved in 4 kills. He has 4k net worth at 8 minutes into the game. And mid, they're jumping onto Thompson right now as well. They should be able to find that grab as Chuan finishes off this Void Spirit. Oh my goodness, Alliance. 2k gold lead 8 minutes in. Then they're rotating top. They're not done just yet. I think Seb is dead. Oh, Seb is 100% dead. Hanskin gonna frostbite him up. There's no way to escape. They don't even need Chuan, but he's gonna jump in onto Aramis.
Oh,
Aramis. Oh no, he just popped the TP as well. A walk of shame is in store for you, buddy. As he gets brought down by Charlie. 2 heroes dead on the top lane, 1 dead through mid. Alliance dominates everywhere on the map right now. It's only bottom that's okay, but even then, they still managed to find decent advantage for the side of Alliance.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why that you pick Underlord in this meta. This hero is absolutely bonkers. I have 100% win rate with this hero so far in the offlane. This hero I don't know, man. It feels almost next to impossible to try and kill him. And the fact that they're putting a lot of their emphasis towards mid and top just means they understand what this hero can do. Seb said again.
You know, every time Seb dies, and don't you always forget when you have these off-kilter offlaners, you're like, oh, that's a Nyx assassin dead. Like if this was like some Legion commander, Tide Hunter, you're like, or Beastmaster, you're like, well, it's okay. His team can set him up with some stacks or something so he can catch up. There's no catch up for this hero. They need to get kills. They won't be able to get Hardskin down, and no one gonna try and make sure that they mow down Charlie. They brought in all their heroes here. Charlie has already triggered the Sunder earlier on. They still extend the fight for quite some time as Chuen shows up and they kill the Lifestealer off with the help of the Storm Spirit. With the Fiend's Gate rolling in from S4, they also managed to bring down this Void Spirit. Aramis, I don't think will be safe either. They conjure Image Illusion from Charlie, providing constant vision on the Snapfire. They run out of mana on the Storm Spirit, so they can't keep the aggression going. But they get the big kills. They bring down the safe laner, the mid laner, and they get the tier 1 tower. And all of this just in exchange for my safe laner and my 5. Hashtag worth, baby. I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah, 100%. You'll be taking that every day of the week here if you're Alliance. And they're doing a really good job of just putting the pressure back onto OG, who really needed their Nyx Assassin to have a few more of these items. S4 is dead. Okay.
Alrighty. Well, that's
rotation.
Yeah. Well, that's the first, like, good rotation from OG, right? Bringing Thompson down so they can use the first instances of the Morty's Kisses. That was a big deal because if that doesn't work out for them, then S4 is able to finish off the mech pretty much uninterrupted, which would be a problem, but they do manage to bring him down. Dude, look at the net worth difference between this Underlord, Hold That Thought, we'll talk about it in a second as they're going on to Thompson in the mid lane, but I don't think they have enough damage just yet. Thompson making the right decision to dissimulate towards the east, lest he get caught out by Hardskin's Frostbite. That allows him to escape. But dude, look at the net worth difference between Nyx Assassin and the Underlord. 1,400 gold this early on. That is a big deal for a hero like Nyx who wants some mobility. They actually might kill Thompson. Thompson, he jumped in looking for Podlo. Podlo still alive, not able to get off the telekinesis, and he will end up getting brought down. Hardskin, he roamed into Vision looking for the Frostbite, but all he will find is death. Kidtrack grabbing himself a double kill off of this. Does require 4 heroes to rotate mid, but it does protect the life of the Thompson Void Spirit. And given how instrumental he tends to be to the early game Fluke, they needed to do that to protect his life.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why I felt like old G have... Oh, they're going to try and kill Thompson here again. He's no mana.
Oh my god, dude. Alright. S4 is actually griefing this game. Bro, why did you come in and steal my kill? If I was Chuen, I'd be mauling right now. He actually had that solo. Like 1v1 versus Thompson, he was going to kill him. That's actually crazy.
Well, they still were able to get the tier 1 tower. They make the rotation with Charlie. S4 and he uses the Fiend's Gate, so 90 seconds on the sideline for that spell. But kind of circling back to what I was saying, this is why I feel like OG kind of have a little bit of an advantage in this patch, because they're really, really good at bringing enough heroes to be able to get the kills that they need. Whereas, you know, Alliance, I think they're over-aggressive a little bit towards that mid lane. They do bring it back and get the kills, and now they get another one on the Kidtrack. And they kill Sep, though.
Seb has 2 points by Carapace. Oh, he's so dead. Oh, he is. Woo! Woo! Damn. Brought down by Charlie. Double kill for Alliance. I will admit, you know, a part of me feels very cathartic seeing a Terrorblade kill Seb. I'm taken back to some Army Terrorblade days and wishing it was them doing this at TI. You know, not doing it now, of course, but Alliance, 5k gold lead, 12 minutes in, or almost 30 minutes into the game. All their towers extremely healthy. All their fight capability seeming like it's on point. What's the game plan here for the side of OG? How do they recover the game state from where it is right now, Fluke?
I think they just need to get ganks with Seb and Thompson. Thompson has his Dagon 1 now, so he's got that extra bit of burst damage. Seb has close to his first Dagon, so they can get a lot of work done if they walk around with those 3 heroes. They can catch out Alliance if they are just sitting back and farming. The one issue is the fact that now they've taken so many of these tier 1 towers that Charlie can just do what he's doing right now and sit up on the top side of the safe lane. And this is the power of this new patch, is when you win your lane super heavily, you still have these massive amount of jungle camps to be able to go around with. They're looking to kill Thompson mid.
They're going to try and make this jump, and they should be able to get him brought down. He jumps forward to Astral Step, looking for Podlo. Dissimulate in which direction, goes into the river, gets Podlo, but it will only be a Pyrrhic victory as he dies immediately afterwards. Down bottom, They are making a potential jump onto S4, but they don't have the Nyx Assassin nearby, so the easy stun is not available. In fact, they rotate in Hanskin, who might try and look for a turnaround. And this is very, very problematic. They had Seb there smoked up as well, looking bottom for that kill onto the Underlord, but forced to respond towards middle. They don't get the jump bottom, and they're still trying to force the fight because Kitrak hasn't been able to retreat just yet. Oh no, he is very, very dead. And you know, there's a lot of spells I want to be giving up in the game of Dota 2 where I don't really care if Rubik steals it. Enchant is actually not one of them. Not only are Dispel super good in the game right now, given the lack of overall magic spell immunity, but these jungle creeps, very good to be able to steal away.
Yeah, it just means that Polno's able to sit back and farm, right? Like he's able to get himself a creep and be an Enchantress 2.0. They're going to try and fight here bottom. Already used the Rage on no one. This could be a hectic gank.
We're gonna go into S4 first with Morty's Kisses after the Impale came out. He pumps the mech, still alive for now. And there comes the damage with the Metamorphosis tearing through Seb. Seb might end up losing his life here. Reflection, very good. Stolen usage of Morty's Kisses. Flies in the opposite direction. No one forced to try and rage himself away. Look at this. Fiend's Gate going right in front of this Life Stealer. There's no escape for you, my friend. They do manage to bring him down. Yeah, sure, they lose S4 in front of the Twin Gate, but who the hell cares? As now you've gotten the kill onto no one. You get a tier 1 tower off the back of this as well. An Alliance, even if they lose a hero here and there, it's always one step back, 5 steps forward for the boys in green. OG struggling right now, and I think what's really frustrating for me here, Fluke, is that very shortly, if this keeps going like this, and Void Spirit's also not progressing, they're gonna run out of damage before anything else, even though they have like tons of control for their lineup.
Yeah, exactly. They're about 700 gold away from having a Skadi on Charlie, and I mean, how are you supposed to kill a Terrorblade when you're lacking damage? Like, no one doesn't have the damage right now. He can't really deal with S4. He can't really deal with the Terrorblade. They're gonna have control issues against the Storm Spirit. Yeah, you're getting kills on Ponlo and Hanskin here and there, but eventually you're gonna run into this team that's just gonna be able to take the objectives directly away from you, and it's not really much that you're able to do. So Alliance are doing a really, really good job right now at getting much better trades across the map. They do have to be careful about over-aggressing on some of these objectives, though, because OG are more than happy to bring 5 heroes all the time due to their lineup. You know, these heroes are much more happier to get kills and get farm and experience that way rather than them sitting back and farming. So I think once they get the... Oh, okay, I was going to say once they get the Skadi, they already have the Skadi now on Charlie. This is kind of like the go button for Alliance. They can just put their emphasis on many of these objectives, get a Roche, get free kills.
Oh my god, look at this damage onto the Enchantress. Holy smokes. She is just dead. Kitrak, no more on the map. And unfortunately, Aramis and Seb can't really do much to stop this. So Hanskin is forced to use Freezing Field. Honestly, I think he just used that because he's like, I put the skill point into this. I haven't used it just yet. Might as well trigger off the ultimate. I'll look cool for a little bit of time. It's fine. Top. I think the Chuen and Ponlo was hoping to set up for a kill onto Thompson.
Ooh, Seb's here.
And the Seb is nearby. They get the stun out, looking for this kill onto Chuen, but they do not get there in time with Thompson. Instead, they get the turnaround onto Seb. Stolen Impale into this Pit of Malice. There's absolutely no chance for this Nyx Assassin to survive. And well, Seb, we are getting a masterclass as to why we don't necessarily see Nyx in the offlane anymore, as Aramis also gets brought down. He showed up through the Twin Gate, hoping to provide some moral support. All he does is support the coffers of Alliance as they kill him off as well, and make their net worth lead even more stark than it was before.
Yeah, it is. Just seems like that's a... Oh, okay, Polno, maybe the sacrifice. He's dead.
Alright.
Yeah, it really does seem like that Alliance are doing everything right now. They are being punished for some of their over-aggression and staying a little bit too long. So I would really love to see Alliance just kind of go as this 5-man ball. Like, you've almost got the Kyra and Sanj here for Chuen. You've got Charlie, basically everything that he wants in this game. I mean, he could probably just go for like a Daedalus next or something like that. I think is a good item progression for Charlie because he has been completely untouched in this game so far. So I definitely feel like they can just put a lot of pressure on the rest of these tier 2 towers, set their attention on towards a Roshan. Like Chuen with an Aegis is going to be impossible to kill. And then as soon as they get through that, they can get through their Tormentor in a minute and a half as well. So they've got plenty of objectives on the map here for Alliance to be able to just kind of cross off as they head towards a Game 1 dub. But so now, not out of the realms of possibilities just yet, because with this patch, man, I hate calling games this early in this patch just because of how easy it is to fight back into them.
Yeah.
All it takes is one good team fight where you kill like 1 or 2 cores that are way ahead of you, and then one of your cores just gets like a full item off the back of it.
Yeah. Like the comeback gold isn't as obscene as it used to be, but it is definitely stronger than it was in the prior patch. Xuen might be on the receiving end of giving away said gold. They don't have the necessary lockdown though onto Xuen. S4 was nearby, popped the mech as well to ensure that the storm was going to be fine. Panlo also stole Dissimulate. This is not a small spell. This is actually like a fairly good game for Rubik spells. Like there's 3 good spells from the Nyx Assassin. Okay, Lifestealer spell sucks kind of, but 2 good spells from Aramis, 2 good spells from the Enchantress, and of course everything you get from the Void Spirit can be very influential in this game. Alliance feels good. One thing I like what you're saying about this, them going into like this ball from Alliance, because one thing you mentioned the other day when we were watching a Bounty Hunter game is that these invis / pick-off style heroes hate playing into 5-hero lineups. And if you just 5-man before they can get ready, they literally have no counterplay against you. Like, what's Nyx gonna do when you're playing into all 5 heroes coming at you at once?
Yeah, exactly. Especially when these heroes are as big as the Storm and the TB. Ooh, quick hands there from no one.
Yeah.
I like that. He's got a Radiance built up now on the Nyx, so he's going to be a bit of a scary hero in these next couple of fights. And this is one thing that I've liked from OG. They've decided that they need to just kind of fall back and get some of their next items coming up. Looks like they are potentially looking for a smoke. They always have the Infest as well as the Vendetta ganks.
Ooh.
But now Alliance, they're looking towards Roche.
Bottom. They're going on towards Thompson potentially here. He gets off the Resonant Pulse, revealing this Aghanim Scepter. Will pop the Illusion Rune as well to get himself out of the Pit of Malice. Xuen still chasing. Only able to get the Remnant back onto Kitrak. He's out of mana on the Storm and he will end up dying to these Morty's Kisses. Xuen, first casualty of this fight, will take the Enchantress down with him though. Charlie now wanting to turn around with the Eye of Skadi. The Fiend's Gate has expired, so they have to fight this head on. Seb looking for multiple heroes to catch at the Impale as it comes back on cooldown. Only going to be able to fight, well, nobody just yet. He's really waiting for this. Catches only the TB, but TB still has Sunder and Metamorphosis. They go on to Rubik, bring him down. It's a 2-for-1 at the moment. Hanskin, can he juke his way to safety is the question. Gets towards the Tier 1 tower, but that's not necessarily safety because they have the Impale. 1 more second, they find the stun. Bit of Malice was there, but not going to be enough. Hanskin brought down by the Radiant Burn of no one. It's a 3-for-1 affair in this bottom lane, and Alliance finally find themselves on the receiving end of an L here in game number 1 as OG finally take a team fight.
Like, just looking at the fight recap, they got almost 3,000 gold from that fight. Like, Nixon and Lysel almost got 1,000 gold each. Like, how crazy is that? That this game was like, in the previous patch, you're like, oh, okay, Alliance, like, they're cruising this game. Like, this game's super easy for them. But as I said, all it takes is one fight. And it's not like they have perfect amount of lockdown either for Alliance. Like, they did definitely overstep their bounds with Xuen. He used a lot of his mana to be able to get into that fight. He got punished super hard for it. But these fights are very, very important for OG to be able to come back in with a bit of network.
They're fighting again though, down in this bottom lane. They get, oh, beautiful. Pit of Malice with the 2-hero telekinesis. But an even better stun comes in from Seb. He's delaying this fight right now. But it seems like nobody in his team has any interest in helping himself or Aramis out. As Seb gets brought down by Hanskin, Aramis follows him into the grave. They did buy enough time for Thompson to say, all right, boys, see ya. I'm out. I'm just going to take the Twin Gate. But with both of these heroes being down, this opens up the path towards Roshan as Alliance go into the pit with ample opportunity to kill him off before nighttime strikes in this game.
Yeah. So they're going to be able to get themselves an Aegis here. No one's having some issues, it seems. But yeah, like sometimes you can just see what happens when they're the ones that are getting initiated on for old G, right? Like they've definitely got enough catch and enough damage for themselves. Like even in a fight like that, like they almost made a they made a 1,500 net worth swing in a fight where you take a Nyx and a Snapfire who are both very low on the net worth chart. So gold from fighting in this patch is absolutely bonkers. So if you're playing your pubs out there, ladies and gentlemen, fight for everything. Fight for every objective on the map. Because that's where most of your gold is going to be. Jungle camps, not as good. They're still good. Not as good, though.
Yep. Nothing is better than fighting. And of course, we mean fighting the enemy team, not your own team, you know?
Yes. If you have to, mute all. That's the greatest feature in Dota 2 is mute all. Chuck on some sick tunes, maybe a YouTube video, chuck on a podcast, whatever you want to do. Vibe out, play your games, get the MMR. Glicko will figure it out eventually, ladies and gentlemen. Just because you've lost a couple of ranks now, a couple thousand of them, it's fine. Glicko will get you to your respective skill soon enough.
I have a very mixed perspective when it comes to like muting players. Like Dota is much more relaxed when everyone's muted, but it's way easier to earn MMR when you can talk to your team. Like, oh my god, the difference it can make. There was a point I was playing like for like 6 months, muting everybody as like a default when I start the game, and then at some point I was like, let me talk to my team, and I gained like 2 ranks in a few months. It was awesome. It was great. It was good times.
I think it kind of depends on the type of player that some people are. Like, some people need to mute their entire team.
Yeah.
Seb?
Seb, well, we know he's not muting his team. He looks very unhappy right now, but he definitely needs to tell his team what's happening as he dies. Tier 3 tower now under jeopardy as they have the Aegis to help them cover this assault. I love that they gave the Aegis towards Chuen. That does mean that Charlie is a little bit vulnerable, so he can get jumped on and killed. And I think he realizes that. So they're backing off from trying to force the push. At the same time, OG, they smoked up. Thompson has a Lifestealer presence inside of him that he would love to reveal, but not onto the Terrorblade. S4, also not really a great target, sitting with a pipe mech, the Vanguard building into Guardian Greaves. Definitely not the target I want to jump on. Actually, who is even a palatable target here on the side of Alliance? If you're not a support, everybody else seems a little bit sus to jump on.
I mean, that's a good question, right? Like, who do you actually jump on? Like, this TV has 3.5k HP. I got mad about this the other day when we were casting. I'm mad about it still. Why does TV have 3,500 HP? Like, I understand he's built Scarred, he's on Strength Treads, and he has a Sergeant Yasha and a Hurricane Pike, but how are you supposed to kill this man? Like, he has Sunder as well available. BKB is not as good anymore. It still doesn't matter because Sunder goes through BKB now, which is a little bonkers, but I mean, this hero is so strong, and it seems like so far that a lot of these Terrorblade players have been able to abuse his laning phase as well. And off to a good start with a hero like Terrorblade, you farm so fast and you're able to outcarry a lot of these other heroes like the Nakes, who has done a really good job at starting to come back into this game, but always being behind is never where you want to be as a Lifestealer, especially into a carry-to-carry matchup where you are losing out. So it is going to be a hard game, and maybe we look towards the next couple of drafts in this series, the TV. Whether it's a win or a loss for OG, I definitely think this Terrorblade hero is something you have to think about.
See a big dive happening in the top lane. Seb finds his life getting taken away. What's intriguing to me about this Terrorblade hero and how well he's doing in this game is my read so far, having played some pubs with Terrorblades in them, having played a TB game or two, having seen and casted some of these TB games, is that the hero, unless he's off to a very good start, doesn't feel as strong as he used to be. But then you have these games where he's like 5k up on the next hero chasing, and you're like, yeah, okay, hero's nuts. Hero's absolutely busted. And right now, it's going to be very difficult to imagine a world where OG, if they don't find a quick answer to this TB, if they can have a way to come back in this game. We do pick up this Manta style from the Lifestealer, but feels like they need the Basher ASAP. Gonna try and deal with this push. Yeah, it's just gone. And they still have full HP on all these heroes. They could still try for more here. They're thinking about it. Nice little stun onto Charlie. Kitrak, he doesn't have a TP either.
Yeah.
The courier's coming in to deliver it to him as they get the jump onto Chuen. At the same time, though, Thompson getting jumped on and Thompson getting killed off. He is gone. Does have buyback, though. At the same time, jump forward by Chuen. Looking for Seb. Will be able to pick him up. They just want as many kills on the Store Spirit as humanly possible. Charlie is credited with the kill on the Nyx, but the priority target is going to be this lane of racks as they pick it up pretty much for free. We see through middle, no one trying to force back this wave, but they still have creeps inside the base, so they have no protection through backdoor, and Chue just jumps onto Kitrak as soon as he came back, as soon as he's killed off. And that is now a 3v5 to try and mount the defense of this mid lane. No one. He has his radiance on here, Fluke, so he might be in an awkward position. Okay, just turned it off. Behind these heroes.
They know that he's there, though.
They know where he's at, but do they care? They finish off this melee racks. They're jumping onto no one. No one forced to pop a rage, but still going to end up dead. Oh, God. They will be able to bring down the rage racks as well. Aramis dragged back in by Chuen. Chuen serves him up on a silver platter for Charlie to take down. And with all these heroes just bleeding away their lives, and the fact that there's no buyback on Lifestealer, this is going to be mega creeps. Chuen still does have Aegis for a little bit longer. 7 more seconds. Will he die in that duration? Not just yet. Sam gets himself brought down. We see the jump in with Thompson. Thompson wants this kill. The Aegis does expire, but they still find the kill first onto Thompson. Aramis not going to be enabled to bring down Chuen as he dies as well. Ponlo, he's the one with the stolen Morty's kisses, raining them down over OG. They won't find anything though. But Alliance, they dark drifted back, but here they return, looking to ensure that they can end out this game. Thompson jumping this way and that with the disseminate. Not going to be good enough though. He gets caught in the pit of malice, dragged back in, and they will be able to bring him down. No buyback for the Void Spirit. Lifestealer comes in. He at least wants 1 kill. I don't even think he's going to find that. And Alliance, I don't know what miracles you have in your back pocket, Fluke, but I don't think any of them is going to help OG at this point. It seems like game 1 should be going the way of Alliance, unless they can win this last fight. Beautiful 2-hero impale coming in from Seb. It enables them to kill S4. Now they want Ponlo as well. He is dead too. Alrighty. They defended the melee racks as well. Charlie, can he get himself out of here? Oh, nice little cancel on the Hurricane Pike, enchanting him during the animation. So it cancels out the 4-star, kills him off. And Alliance will end up losing 3. It's not a cheap hold by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a hold, Fluke. It is a hold, which is the best they can expect for now.
Dude, look how click show fire recap. Click it. Look how much gold they got for killing TB.
Oh my god!
They got
What?
4.1k for killing TB.
Holy smokes!
What?
It's a lot of money.
Sep has a whole new item, bro. What?
Radiant are scanning.
That's crazy, and that's why that play from Kitrak was so sick. This was like 24k net worth, by the way, before TB and Storm left the base. So they have swung this by a decent amount of gold, like 7 or 8. Like, look at the spike. Like, that is nuts. Man, why I'm saying that, like, I don't think you can call games this early anymore in this patch because of how easy it is for you to just have this massive net worth swing, and especially the kill S4 here too.
Yep. S4 should end up dead here. Bit of malice will be dropped down. No one will chase him with the raise. The question is, will no one escape with this one as well? Chuen jumping in. They want no one. They want the real target here. Lifestealer, the big prize. Metamorphosis popped by the Terrorblade. They will not be able to get him out with the Fire Snap Cookie. And he ends up dead. 72 seconds. No buyback for the Lifestealer. They're going for a further chase here. Ponlo stole away the Aether Remnant. But his Blink's still on cooldown for a further 4 seconds, so can't give further chase. And of course, Storm Spirit running out of mana. Okay, pretty big pickup onto no one there. I don't think they can push before he has respawn and or before meta is on cooldown again for Charlie, but still nice to see from the side of Alliance. And they're actually gonna fight more. Chuen, he's out of mana. He might be in a bad place here. Only has 600 left, but they have so much damage. Seb, the meager amount of disable they have is more than enough time to kill him off. He buys back though, returning onto the outpost. They jump in, they kill Ponlo. And the TPN from the next assassin. He's here to ensure that Alliance have absolutely no hope of progressing forward in this fight. But he wants more. Chasing further on this next assassin. Doesn't have a blink dagger, but does have a 4-star. Might be able to catch out the Storm Spirit. Nice little pushback with the Psychic Headband. Will give him enough time to zip away. Dude, that last little piece of mana, what a presence of mind to get that pushback. If he doesn't do that, he actually dies. But doing that and zipping away keeps him alive on the Storm Spirit.
Yeah, and it would have been a big kill to be able to find Chuen as well. They probably might not have lost the gem, but they definitely would have lost a little bit more net worth once again. And this is OG fighting their way back into this game. They still need to try and keep their cause alive for some of these team fights. Thompson is surviving, which is kind of big for the side of OG. The fact that Thompson is the one that's starting to live these fights. They are very far down when it comes to these 2 lanes of rack, but eventually they're going to start to have some more of these items. And now they're setting their attention onto Roche as well. This is going to be the Aegis and the Cheese.
But they're coming to defend this one.
Alliance are ready to fight though.
Exactly. They're not going to let this one go for free. There is a Watcher on the side of OG, so they know what's coming. Very quick destruction on the Watcher. Thompson.
Oh, the backstab.
He's infested into right now. Wants to find a target. Lift back onto Ponlo at a critical moment. They jump in, but they've caught Thompson. Thompson, does he have a way out of this? Absolutely not. He is dead. Down to rights. No buyback either. And they're going to be going on to no one, who's soon going to find himself joining his compatriot. Zip that way, zip that way. Chuen zips every way. A Ravage comes in from Seb. 4 heroes caught in the Impale, but it's not going to make a difference. The Fade Bolt from Ponlo still brings them down. And now they Fade Bolt, or they use the Dark Rift, or Fiend's Gate, whatever the hell this spell is called. They go into the Radiant base right now. They want to try and finish this game, Fluke. They force a buyback out of this Lifestealer, but they know there's nothing left in the tank. That's it. GG, well played. Alliance just heads up, take game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, what a sick start to this series and this game here from Alliance. They came in with some really good lanes. I like their draft as well. They played really good to open up here from Alliance. Feels pretty good, man. And the way that they team fought as well, they got caught out a few times. To be fair, I think there was a little bit of over-aggression from them, but they had such a stellar start to this game that I can't really blame them for feeling themselves in this game. But they're able to regroup. They understood that they are very strong. And as soon as they grouped together, they got themselves a lot of these objectives. And I mean, what a performance from Charlie, man. Like, what a huge TB this game. And yes, he did give away like almost 5,000 gold when he did die, but at the end of the day, that was only his second death in that game. And the fact that he was able to be such a big, scary member in this game where he has a much better carry-to-carry matchup really goes to show that Alliance understand how to play this patch right now and really understand how their drafts work out. So I'm very excited to see what they pull out in game number 2.
I mean, let's just consider how well the Terrorblade did this game. He had the most kills in the game, most net worth in the game, highest amount of kill involvement in the game, highest amount of GPM in the game, highest amount of hero damage dealt in the game, highest amount of building damage dealt in the game, and crucially, 4th most amount of damage received for himself as well. Absolutely incredible performance from Charlie. Did everything his team needed him to do. This is what you want to see out of a Terrorblade pick. That's going to be your ultimate win condition for your lineup. Like, they went for this as the ultimate 24 pick for Charlie. And, you know, we were talking earlier about how some Terrorblades lately have been a little bit sus. Not the case today. Definitely demonstrating, you know, we've been seeing a lot more of these strength cores come up. Your Svens, your Lifestealers, more of your CKs, even your Ursas. Ursa I kind of consider to be a strength hero. And Terrorblade certainly showing that, yeah, in this meta, he's going to be one of those heroes that when you have those heroes in the enemy team, you pick this guy up, he is going to shred through them, and they don't have many counterplay options. And sadly, I think as much as he did really well, OG, I don't think they did themselves many favors by having this off-lane Nyx Assassin. Bro, he died 14 times in that game on Nyx Assassin. Yeah. Definitely not the hero we want to see in the off-lane.
Yeah. They probably expected the lane to go much better than what it did. I think they expected, you know, to be able to hit that level 3 power spike and be able to just kind of abuse like Impale on Spike Carapace and get kills on either the CM or the Terrorblade constantly and try and get their game going that way. But it just never worked out. Seb just constantly was just in trouble from the Crystal Maiden and the Terrorblade. Really wasn't able to do all too much. Had to go for this like Vanguard Dagon build and eventually transition into a little bit of damage. But at that point, the damage was already done to OG. So I would like to see them go for a little bit more conventional this time around. Maybe try and pick up one of Seb's heroes early on. He has been playing a lot of the Underlord recently as well, and I think this is probably going to be a hero that we're going to be seeing contested in this second draft. Even maybe if we see like a Muerta, I think that hero, the way that its lane works out, is one of the good heroes into the Underlord, because once you hit that level 6, you've got that massive amount of damage that not even the Atrophior is able to deal with. So I think maybe we're going to be looking towards a little bit more aggressive lanes for OG and be able to have themselves a game that they can team fight in the middle of, which we saw in that game number 1. They have a lot of mechanical skill and can really team fight well together, but they need to be able to have the net worth to make it a lot less behind the 8 ball kind of stuff.
Execution when it comes to team fights has never been a problem for the side of OG. The question has always been, can they furnish the right kind of draft to ensure that their team fights are successful? In game 1, it did not work out for them with this Nyx Assassin in the offlane and a Void Spirit in the mid. We'll see if it can do so in game number 2. We have to all remember as well that they are playing at a little bit of a handicap. With Aramis standing in for the squad, it does mean that Resolution, their primary offlaner, is not here today, shifting the balance quite massively for the squad. It makes Kitrak play a different role, it makes Seb play a different role, it means that the lane matchups are different. It's legitimately a new team when Resolution is not involved. And so far, it's Alliance that's been able to exploit that gap in the armor on the side of OG. However, With Thompson and Seb in the squad, we've seen them come back from worse in the past all the way into TI victories. So we'll see if they can manage to do so in Game 2, or if it's going to be Alliance going through with a 2-0 victory and making the tiebreaker between OG and PUCCHAMP just to stay in the division. Let's find out what happens after a very short break. So don't go anywhere. More Dota 2 action will resume in just a moment here in Div 2. So we'll see you soon. welcome back one and all here to some more DPC action. Division 2, we're wrapping up the final series of the regular portion of the season at least, and right now we are witnessing Alliance taking on OG, and so far Alliance in a very good position. If they win this game, they will end the tour in 4th place guaranteed no matter what, and will force tiebreakers between OG and PUCChamp merely to stay in the division. However, if OG win, they will force tiebreakers between 4th and 6th place between themselves, Alliance, and Into the Breach. And so far, Fluke, Alliance just seem... It's one thing to have a better draft, right? Which I think we both agree they had in game 1. But it's the way they played. Normally, when we've seen OG look good, they've been able to do 2 things very well. Dominate the laning phase, and then make very clutch rotations in the mid game. With the lanes going this well from Alliance, the critical portion of the usual win condition from OG is immediately undercut and taken away. So what do you want to see in terms of them adjusting into game 2 if they want to have any hope of taking down Alliance and forcing a decided game 3?
I think we were talking about in the break is we weren't really sure about the Nyx Assassin in that draft, so maybe give Seb something that gives him a little bit more kind of agency in the first 5-10 minutes. Obviously, the level 1 went really poorly for Seb, going down early on and then kind of constantly just permanently being behind Charlie on that Terrorblade and weren't able to get any kills in that offlane themselves. They did make some early rotations, but they constantly got picked off and changed around. So I would like to see OG kind of do what they did in game number 1, but I want to see Seb have something that he's able to kind of win or at least go even in that off lane, be able to make sure that Alliance are playing a little bit from behind instead of being it was like 7k at like 15 minutes in or something like that. So they definitely started out with a really hot start for Alliance, and they did get punished in a couple of those mid-game team fights, but they're able to close out in like 30 minutes, whereas the average for us so far here on Western Europe has been like 50 plus minutes. So it has been a good change of pace for us, and I think OG, if they just give Seb kind of one of his old signature heroes, maybe the Magnus is something that he needs to look towards now, because I think that hero is a little bit better. It's not as tanky as it used to be in the past because obviously it's a universal hero now, so you don't get like the damage plus the tankiness. So it is kind of one of those heroes that might change a little bit for Seb himself, but Underlord is another one of those heroes that I'm looking towards for both these two teams to highly contest. So yeah, just give Seb something that he's able to actually play the game with, because he's an insane mechanical laner and he's very, very good when it comes to his own decision making. So just make sure that he's even or ahead.
Well, one of the things that we are talking about is they're making sure they have a decent laning phase. And this time around, they have second pick on the side of OG, and the side of Alliance have chosen to go into the Dire side of things. So we're not going to have Dire second pick for Alliance, which might have contributed somewhat to their victory in the first game. They have to play now with just the first pick on Dire, which means that they have to start thinking about the Chins, the Enchantresses, the Muertas as their first overall picks. And at the very least, OG will have an opportunity to respond in the laning phase and make sure that they have the best matchups humanly possible. I also would like to see Thompson not on Void Spirit again. I just fundamentally do not believe in this hero. There's like a couple of heroes that I just don't believe in whatsoever. Void Spirit, I think for me right now, the heroes I don't believe in at all. Void Spirit I don't believe in. I do not believe in Sven. And what's another one I don't believe in Mars. So far, 2 of those have proven to still suck in the new patch. One of them, I will allow that Sven has had a couple of good games. We'll see if he has any presence in this particular game, though, as we are into our second draft of the day, Fluke. OG, as mentioned on Radiant side, they do the right thing, and they still ban out the Chen. What did they ban last game? They banned Chen. What did they ban before they took out the Chen from the game?
Chen and Alchemist.
Alchemist, yes. Yeah. Chen out, and then Alliance. But wasn't it Alliance that banned Chen out, and then OG
Alliance banned... What did they ban? It was Bounty Hunter +1.
Forget the +1.
Let's see if I can get some help from Wikipedia. Checking it right now. It was Doom as well as Bounty Hunter.
Okay. So Doom Bounty was taken out by OG, and Alliance last time around took out the Alchemist and the Chen. This time around, Alliance decided to remove the Monkey King. So this sets up some of the S4 heroes. His Centaur, his Tide Hunter, his Doom. Hell, potentially another hero we've seen on the rise lately, Fluke, has been this off-lane Timbersaw, which has looked disgustingly tanky. And the way that they've banned out right now, both Ench and Monkey King, these are heroes we've seen bother Timbersaw in the prior patch. Now it's certainly not going to be a possibility. So what do you think? Could Alliance be angling for themselves to get S4 onto that Timbersaw in the offlane?
Yeah, they could be. I haven't really seen S4 pop off as much on Timbersaw. I would much love him to probably just go for the Underlord again. They can still even go for something along the lines of like a Muerta if they really feel like that's a good hero. Okay, I like this ban coming in from OG. I think Underlord was something that they were going to be angling for here for Alliance because, yeah, you could potentially get like Slark plus Wand, but you will have a response for your final pick and be able to kind of give you a Slark counter and then be able to cover it with a few bans going into that second phase. So I think OG really understood that Alliance are going to be angling towards this Underlord for a lot of this series, and Seb being one of those players as well, he's very good when it comes to the Underlord, but I want to see him on a hero that has a little bit of extra carry potential, a little bit of outplay, right? Like things like his Legion Commander, his Magnus, all those heroes that he has really proven in the past to be very, very strong. So I'm not really sure what Alliance want to go for now. What did they go for last time? They went for like Rubik. They could probably just open with like Podno Rubik again if they really wanted to. Makes them pretty safe for their first pick and doesn't really reveal too much.
I mean, in game one, they went, the opening pick for OG was Enchantress, then they went Underlord Rubik. With first, I don't want to see Rubik. I would pick Doom. Crystal Maiden. All right.
CM,
This is a hero that can, I mean, it did work in the first game, right? It sets them up for a potential Crystal Maiden plus Storm Spirit matchup in the mid lane later. It makes it hard for OG to justify going for a first phase Spirit themselves, since you now have some instant disable with this Frostbite. It's a very decent laner. It can be played 4 if need be. I like Crystal Maiden, actually, as an opener here.
Yeah, I think she's really good because she's a lane winner, and she's also a really big fight winner as well. She can make some easy rotations with the Twin Gate to be able to go in towards the off lane or the safe lane and just kind of get a kill and then make a rotation back towards the top lane as well. I really like CM, and I think she's been on the rise in the last couple of patches, and I know a lot of POS 5 players really like playing her as well, especially with the changes to Freezing Field now actually making you tanky and you're not just kind of like a walking HP pool. You can actually do a lot of stuff on the map and really enable a lot of these heroes with your Arcane Aura as well. So this is a good response here from OG. They go into the Alchemist, a hero that doesn't really care all too much about the CM. You can pop the Chemical Rage to be able to get out of the Frostbite, and she just doesn't have the damage to kill you, especially with this max HP build that we've seen with like Heart plus Overwhelming Blink, and like Sergeant Yasha, I think was something that I saw from Arteezy recently, and it just gives them a hero that can do well in the lane, and can also get them in towards the mid game where they're able to fight and play around one of, I think, no one's best heroes.
Yep. Alchemist, very good hero. This is a hero that you've been calling as one of the carry heroes in the patch. Unfortunately, one of the reasons I'm still not fully on the hype train is that this Terrorblade hero is traditionally and still is, from the games that I've seen, phenomenal versus Alchemist. It is incredible. You buy Scardy, of course, to help you against the Chemical Rage. You just output such an incredulous amount of damage that even the regen Alchemist has doesn't really match up and keep up with it. And Alchemist, yeah, he's going to buy Blink Dagger, but your stun against Terrorblade is awful. Provided Terrorblade has Manta Style, you never get stunned. You always have a way to just keep the fight going. Just man him down. And worst case scenario, he brings you to low HP, you sunder him, and you just right-click him to death. I love that Alliance made sure to go for the TB. He would have 100% have been banned out second phase, so this feels very good to me. And this also feels like it's put the impetus back on OG, right? For them to have to come up with realistic answers versus the TB, because that answer is not going to be the Alchemist. So now you have to find answers from the off lane as well as from the mid lane instead.
Yeah, I do think that OG have a decent amount of good heroes for themselves that really match up well into the Terrorblade. Zeus is the second most played hero from Topson on this patch, outside of his Void Spirit. So I think that hero with the is it Lightning Hands or Thunder Hands? Whatever it is, his Shocky Hands is an interesting build. I haven't seen it really pop off. I think it's kind of cool that you go like this like Manta style Dragonlance build, but I haven't seen it like be insane. All the pubs that I've seen it in, it has lost. So maybe it's something that players might be overestimating a little bit, thinking that the Shard build is a little bit too good. I still think the Shard full stop is good, but putting yourself into like a right-click Zeus build might not be the way to go. So definitely got to be thinking about that for Alliance. I like how they ban the Muerta as well. The Alchemist is something that you could potentially run in the offlane. Has been one of those heroes now with Griever's Greed being innate. You can use the Acid Spray level 1 and you haven't lost out on that early farming prowess. So I do like the Muerta ban here for Alliance. Just gives them a lot of good answers at keeping their TB alive.
All right, let me tell you how to win with Zeus, brother. I won a game,
Okay.
was it yesterday or the day before? So we had Zeus in the team. We also had a Legion commander, right? And Legion built AC, our Zeus built Mjolnir. And in the middle of the fight, Legion would always just use would press the attack the Zeus almost exclusively to the exclusion of all else. Like, it doesn't give you the attack speed anymore, regrettably, which kind of sucks. But it does give him the movement speed. So it'd always be just repositioning himself and then just right-clicking away. It was really funny. It was, like, hilarious to watch. So put Mjolnir Zeus with Aghanim Shard in your games. But you have to have a LC with the AC as well as giving him the movement speed. So it's like rolls around the fight, right-clicking people. It was hilarious to watch.
I mean, I definitely feel like OG are a team that would do something funky like that, right? Where they're putting a lot of their emphasis on this goofy little combination, and then it just works out, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, this is broken." But then you realize it's like, "Oh, it's just OG who have thought about a combination like this and have really worked through it." So, I mean, I'd love to see it. I love seeing these wacky and weird builds. I remember when Batrider Shard came out, when he was able to use the Manta to apply it. That was something that we saw a whole boatload of. That was hilarious to watch because it's like usually Batrider it's like Blink, BKB, Octarine, Travels, but now it's just like nah, Blink Manta fam, and then you'd get like a Mjolnir or an AC, and you're like, why is this Batrider doing this?
Sometimes we play Dota to have fun for the most part, not just to be winning prize money. But we do still have to pay some attention to this game still. OG, this is presumably the Seb Phoenix. Like, a lot of times I've seen Seb in a team with Phoenix. Even when he was playing support, he would play this hero, so he knows how to do it. Can very easily play it from the offlane position as well. They don't necessarily have great egg hitters either from the side of Alliance. Terrorblade, if Terrorblade is close enough to be hitting the Supernova, that's not where he wants to be in the fight, right? He wants to be much further away. However, they get a very good dual combo here with the Silencer and the Centaur. Silencer makes it hard for the Phoenix to always be able to play his game. In the rare event Supernova does go off, you just pop the Stampede, run the hell away from it. Oh, this is a good, oh my god, this is an amazing Ursa pick. So what, are we thinking Alchemist goes mid then in this game?
Mid or off lane. I think Seb is one of those players that is more than happy to play an Alchemist. I'm not sure how the lane goes into like Crystal Maiden TB. It could be quite annoying with like the reflection, but Acid Spray is very good at dealing with the TB early on. Obviously he has a very low HP pool, so just damage over time abilities or even just like magic spells are very, very good against him early on, but also reducing his armor means that the Alchemist can trade with him. You can go for like this like Bracer Vanguard build and be very, very tanky for the Alchemist, and then you can kind of just build into like Radiance plus another item and then be the hero that's able to match up with the Ursa's timings as well. So I like that OG are not afraid to move their heroes around when they start seeing some of these heroes that are a little bit harder for one of their cores to deal with, transition it into a core or a support, and then be able to get one of these very, very strong heroes of the patch. Ursa is one of the 3 heroes that was completely untouched in 7.33 alongside PA as well as a Silencer. So he was very, very good in the previous patch. He had a buff to a few of his items as well. This like Disperser build is something that I'm seeing a little bit of as well. The one annoying thing is Battle Fury is a little worse to build for Ursa, so maybe we might see like a diffusal build, but yeah, sick Ursa game. I would like to see them ban some more of these Spirit heroes because they are lacking a little bit of lockdown here for OG.
I mean, it's the Battle Fury build-up is worse for the Ursa, but like you mentioned, the other builds for the hero got buffed, so you have more playability options with him. Also, I just realized that it is remiss of us to be looking at an OG lineup that has Seb in the team and not remember that there was a point in time where it was Seb himself who popularized this offlane Alchemist build. So, how do we not see this coming? Should have seen it coming.
The Axe Factory.
Exactly. Not the most amazing axes in this game, but still fairly decent. Rubik Axe is really, really good. Phoenix Axe can just give some additional salvation. And then, of course, Ursa Axe, it's fine. It's not the best thing in the world, but still pretty good.
I like how Alliance still ban out the Nyx Assassin as well. They're like, we don't. There's no potential for us to have to deal with that. There still is, I think, looking for a top center hero. He can play the Ursa. He can play the Alchemist. I'm not 100% sure where those lanes are going to go. I like this lineup ban from OG. I was just about to say, I think Puck is one of the heroes that Alliance really need right now. They need a little bit more team fight to be able to fight around a certain area because TB doesn't really like when people are running away from him. He does go to the Skadi, obviously, but he really wants to make sure that people in an area that he can abuse his Metamorphosis for. And right now, if you don't have that kind of lockdown, Alchemist very, very hard to lock down because he's a tanky hero. Phoenix is hard to lock down as well, and Ursa's constantly going to be enraging. So it will be hard for Alliance to try and keep people in these areas for their Terrorblade to fight. So what's a Chuan hero that can give them a little bit of extra team fight? And that's pretty good in the outcomes. I would like to see them get a Spirit Vessel builder. So maybe like if they want to do like Earth Spirit themselves, they can go for something along the lines of like an Invoker, like a Quaswex Invoker. You can, you know, get rid of a lot of the spells coming in from the Ursa, as well as having the Spirit Vessel onto the Arc. But they're going to go Void Spirit themselves.
All right. I was going to clamor for an Ember Spirit in this particular situation, but they go for the Void Spirit. Okay. We'll see if it's able to net them the results that old you were lacking in the previous game. Of course, it is a little bit easier for the Void Spirit this time around, given the offlaner that he's playing with can not only help him out by having a better lane, but his ultimate is really, really good for the Void Spirit. You have to commit less spells to get into the fight. But OG, alrighty. Man, OG, you love
Who's
to
like
see
what?
it. Who is playing this? It's a Thompson Omni Knight
Omni?
in
What?
the mid lane. Okay. I mean, look, right? Hammer of Purity now is a bit better once it gets hit with the Aghanim Shard. But I don't know. I have legitimately...
Huh?
I will be honest with you, Fluke, right? I do not think I have... I think it's been years and years, probably back since Dota 1, since I've seen an Omni Knight in the mid lane. From a TI winner, from Thompson. All right, explain, brother, explain. Make this make sense to me. Thompson mid on the Omni Knight, going into the Chuan Void Spirit. Make it make sense, Fluke, make it make sense.
Current Omni Knight is a really big abuser of melee heroes, and I think the big thing up against the Void Spirit is you don't care about the Resonant Pulse, and that's one thing that you need to think about when you're playing up against the Void Spirit is the Resonant Pulse physical damage shield that we've got now. So you need to make sure that you have some damage that goes through that. Hammer of Purity is able to do that. You're able to chase people down with like this Echo Saber build that I've been seeing a little bit of Omni Knights. Also, it means that, like, this Ursa and this Alchemist, like, how are you going to kill them? Like, how are you ever going to lock them down if they have Heavenly Grace on them? I think it's going to be pretty hard. And if anybody knows how to beat Void Spirit in this current patch, it's going to be Thompson. Thompson's got some idea about how to beat it. He's, like, one of the most played players on that hero so far in this patch, and he's able to abuse the timings, understand when it's good, when it's bad. Pardon me. And I think the Omni Knight is going to be an interesting addition to that. My one issue is their lack of lockdown. They don't have that much lockdown for the side of Old G. They are relying on telekinesis and an unstable concoction from Seb. So if anybody can do it, it's Old G. At the end of the day, I'm not going to be too mad if it does fail because I've seen something different today. Definitely something that I wasn't expecting. But if it looks good, then, I mean, rest in peace to the major teams right now, because I'm sure some of them are watching this Western European series right now, and they're looking at this and going, Omni Knight mid?
I mean, if a TI winner's doing it, it can't be all that bad. We're gonna be
But it's also
out...
Thompson.
Exactly.
So it's
Thompson
like,
does whatever he
it's one of
wants.
those things where, like, he is a two-time TI winner, but at the end of the day, everybody knows that he's a mad scientist. Everybody knows that this guy is cooking some shit. And whenever he, like, pulls something out, everyone's like, maybe it could be good, but in a slightly different variation and much more of these stock standard teams.
Yep. It sort of reminds me of the days when S4, not S4, ISO at the top of the world from the off lane, and nobody else knew what ISO was doing. You were like, yeah, that's good, but that's an ice build. So Thompson, we will see this new tick. Omni Knight mid. I am ready for this. Let's go. Personally, I will be very glad if this becomes meta. Then my mid laners can stop crying for regen. Bro, heal yourself. It'll be okay.
Just play Omni, bro.
Exactly.
The battle begins.
I think a big thing, I'm just having a look at Omni's talents, because I haven't seen nor played this hero in a very long time. He gets 50 base damage at level 10.
Yeah. It's a very good talent. The level 10 talent is very good. Yeah. It just so happens that when you play him support, like the H Grace talent is just so much better. Because if you get the duration talent on the H Grace, you have literally 100% uptime at level 4 on the H Grace. It's super, super good.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. So I'm interested to see how Thompson does play this with his build, as well as his item, as well as his talent. So, you know, kind of exactly what I expected. You're just going to hammer a Purity Chuan off cooldown. It is only 40 mana, so you can just constantly spam it, and it just means that Chuan has to be careful about his HP because his Resonant Pulse does not block it. and he will constantly just cop that damage as well. And I'm pretty sure his shard means that he heals off it as well.
He does, yeah.
Yeah, so his shard means that he heals with 30% of the damage dealt every 6 seconds. His next attack will fire a Hammer of Purity. So he's going to do a lot of damage, man.
A lot of damage and sustain because that auto hit heals you as well, that you come back from it.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff. We'll see how this goes in this mid lane. Very curious to see what kind of check they're cooking up here from the side of OG. I mean, Chuen is just going to be like, well, boys, I dumpstered the last game. That's not going to happen this time around. Like, you know, this lane is going to be much, much slower. That being said, though, unlike when you was playing Void Spirit, Thompson has far fewer capabilities of making big rotations on the map. So these side lanes cannot go poorly here, Fluke. They have to be successful. So far, so good, though. This top lane is okay. It feels like kill potential into them is hard from top. Kill potential middle is pretty much non-existent until you get level 6 for Chuen. And then, of course, kill potential bottom is there, but only realistically onto this Phoenix if he messes up. So does feel like a much better game for OG in terms of the laning phase at the very least.
Yeah, I definitely think that OG have much better lanes this time around, and I think they have much better mid-game as well. Like, the Ursa this game has a really, really good game. He has to be careful of the Stampede, though. That can be one issue, but depending on what Seb wants to build, they can do a lot of work, and you might get a kill here on a Charlie.
Yeah, they're going for Charlie, and Seb is actually the one to find that first blood. You're talking about better lanes. This is even better, getting the kill onto the big Terrorblade. And if you depress CB, that means that Alchemist already having a much better game than Alliance. They picked this CB, assuming this Alchemist was going to be a carry. Down bottom, Ponlo and the boys do manage to bring down Kitrak. Although Ponlo dies first, so Kitrak still gets some experience and gold out of this. S4 catching the lion's share of the XP, but could also end up dead. No, he should be fine. There's no boots on no one, so you can't run him down just yet.
Yeah, no one's kind of okay with that. He gets a little bit of AoE experience, gets to be involved at the bottom while he's kind of just sitting back and last, hitting 14 and 2 here on the Ursa. And I think the Ursa, in comparison to the Lifesteal this time around, if he has a very, very good start, the thing is, like, when you're playing up against Underlord, he's one of those heroes that's just going to naturally farm off the back of Firestorm. Whereas the Centaur is not one of those heroes. So you have to be careful if you are Alliance here.
Speaking of being careful, Ponlo getting ran down, should tick out to the Fire Spirits down bottom. At the same time, they ended up losing Hanskin up top. So OG capitalizing on their better lanes by securing multiple kills all across the map, increasing their farm output early on. And it's kind of crazy to me how different a game can look with just slightly better lanes. Because now you have this Alchemist who is really, really farmed with the 14 CS with the inherent Grievous Greed. He can contest the lane due to the change in his optimization with his levels. They actually might kill Charlie in this top lane. Bottom, no one was in danger. And Charlie, they will not be able to find the stun onto him. He stays alive. Seb somewhat low on the HP, but they should still be overall happy with how things are going on the side of OG.
Oh yeah, they're pogging out right now. This is a very, very good start for them. 4-1. They're able to get a lot of experience on their heroes that need experience. And that's a big thing for this draft from OG, is they need a lot of levels on a lot of their heroes. And the fact that Seb's doing really well top, 19-2 against the 20-4. I mean, you're happy if this is an offlane Alchemist, right? Like, you can always just give him a little bit of the extra space. The fact that Thompson is not one of these super greedy heroes as well means that there's going to be a lot of space for Alchemists to be able to farm with. There's a lot of space in general now in this patch to farm with. And as long as the rest of these lanes are going okay or even, then they're still going to have ways of being able to team fight in the mid game. Whereas Alliance, like, they only really have Terrorblade as their big kind of late game carry. I'm in the same boat as you. I don't think I'm super sold on this Void Spirit right now, especially with the builds that I'm seeing. So maybe this might be something where we're looking at this Void Spirit to have a better game.
Oh no, S4 in the gang. They bring down no one at the bottom lane. I'm kind of surprised the Ursa died there. But they didn't have access to the Sunray on the Phoenix, so they didn't have any heal to pump into the bear. So they do get that kill. And in this mid lane, one of the big things we shall see from this game, or just in general, we're going to see all these Void Spirits go Bracer, as he is now a universal hero. So this just feels very good, getting both damage as well as a bunch of tank ability. But surprisingly, it's Thompson Fluke that's winning this mid lane. He's 30-8 on the Zombie Knight, man.
It's pretty easy to abuse Purification in this kind of matchup as well, especially when the Void Spirit wants to try and trade with you physically. You can just drop Purification, goes through shield, And now Seb gets another kill.
Oof.
Oh, damn.
Actually, Charlie might die, dude. Charlie's in danger. Unstable concoction in 1 second by Seb. Seb throws it forward.
Oh, they don't have the
Aramis,
damage.
they don't have the damage. He didn't channel it up long enough. Didn't want to put his life in danger by trying to close the gap and then stunning himself. Still though, they force a meta usage out of Charlie just so he can farm safely at the back end.
DD Thompson.
And DD Thompson running down Chuan. They actually kill him off. Dude, even without DJ Aura, that was removed. But they still have some way to slow him up enough to get the kill. Shout out to Kidtrack for making the rotation with the Fire Spirits. This is big news. Alliance on the back foot in multiple lanes right now. They've actually gotten killed in every single lane at this point in time.
Yeah, they're doing a really, really good job at just starting out a little bit better in this game number 2. So not the end of the day just yet. Still have to try and get through this game. And as we've said in previous games, fighting is very, very important in the mid game. So they're starting out perfectly. And Chuan, he's in trouble again.
No, he's getting jumped on once more. He still doesn't have access to level 6, so he has no way to get himself out of this. Kidtrack credited with the kill with the Fire Spirits. Oh boy. Thompson is now level 7 versus the level 5 Void Spirit. Damn. You were mentioning it as soon as we saw the draft unfold that if there's anybody that knows how to deal with the mid Void Spirit, it's gonna be Thompson. And so far so good. Unfortunately though, no one is not having as good a time as he suffers his second death of the game down in this bottom lane.
Yeah, they did this quite a lot for Old G. They kind of leave no one on an island. Or Charlie.
Top. Dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead.
Oh no! This is a very rough start here for Alliance, and this is what I talked about in between the series, right? Is about what does Alliance look like if they don't have like 7k net worth lead at 14 minutes into the game, and they are a little bit behind. They're not crazy amounts behind considering they are up against an Alchemist, but these heroes and this team, Old G, they're going to start to run over Alliance, and they're just going to try and play in their face as much as they can. And you have a Silencer Sim as your 2 supports. These 2 heroes do not like getting run at. And especially with you having a TB who needs to sit back and farm as much as he possibly can, it's going to be hard for you to make these moves, much like game number 1 for Old G.
Seb is dead. Seb is
dead.
Woo. Bye, my friend. I've always admired you, Seb. I think you're a great guy. Unfortunately, you're giving away gold to Charlie right now. There is one frustration, though, with how things have been going for Old G. Yes, they've been able to do a really good job middle. They've gotten a ton of net worth into Seb. But they have found nothing for no one. No one. Bottom of all the cores in net worth. He can't actually play his own lane anymore. Doesn't even have the first item to start progressing into the Battle Fury. This game, not the easiest in the world for him. And they're bringing down supports down bottom, as well as Thompson. But they have Stampede if they want to utilize it. Thompson, regrettably, you're playing Omni, so you don't have any hard disable. You show up with the Hammer of Purity, they don't really care. They just walk away from you. And that's
Especially the Vanguard.
2 TPs, because also Seb brought down bottom. This is huge because now Charlie can actually play in the top lane. Fortunately, they have a twin gate though, so he can come back. And they might set up for a kill onto Charlie. They're chasing him right now. Can they find the vision for the start?
The vision.
He throws it onto the illusion, but it's not going to save the life of Kidtrack, who's going to die to the Metamorphosis damage. And now Silencer here as well. They pop the Stampede. Don't want to close the gap onto Seb. He's channeling another stun, but it won't save his life. The illusions will help beat you down. And Charlie will be credited with that kill. Aether Remnant doesn't connect onto the Rubik, who will be allowed to escape. The same is not going to be true for Ponlo down bottom, who will end up losing his life. But OG, they want more here. If they can at least kill off S4, it'll feel like a normalized fight. He doesn't have Stampede anymore. He's already popped it. Oh no, no way. He's going to TP out. He's taking advantage of their lack of disables here, Fluke. And he's out clean and clear. They got their kills. They got their escapes. And they feel so much better about this game on the side of Alliance.
There's TP forehead, and this is one of the issues that I have with OG's lineup is they have telekinesis and they have unstable concoction. Now, these are the 2 spells they have to cancel a TP this time around. Maybe we might see something along the lines of like a Rod of Atos somewhere down the line for OG, but currently the way that it's going, they do not have that. So it is very, very easy for S4, who is a very tanky boy, to be able to stand and fight. No one. He's in trouble again.
Yeah, there's some danger here for this Ursa. Got double-edged up. Ponlo chasing him down. There's the Frostbite. There's the kill. Oh, no. This is not how this is supposed to all be going here. And it doesn't really help you when you're getting so much on your Alchemist. Your Omni's doing okay, but your Ursa, the hero that's supposed to supply the physical damage here, not able to make any meaningful progression in this game. He at least has the 1 item towards getting his Battle Fury, but it's only the 1. Still a long way for him to travel here.
is under attack.
And the cornucopia doesn't feel like, honestly, getting cornucopia, it's not the same as having perseverance back in the day. It doesn't feel nearly as good in terms of like, okay, at least I have this if the game is going very poorly.
Dire's top tower.
Yeah, you do get 7 damage out of it, so it's not, you know, it's not the worst, but it still is very annoying that it is super far behind right now, and he needs a lot of time to be able to come back into the game. And also, Seb's not going for like a carry build on this Alchemist. He's going Guardian Greaves, Glimmercape, Blink.
Okay.
So much more of a utility Alchemist. So a lot of the damage is kind of going to come from like Thompson plus the Phoenix, I think. So, I mean, even if no one does get some space, he still needs to be their damage dealer. And I guess that's a one tick towards OG is they had a game plan with this Alchemist to be this kind of hero. And the way that the lanes are going, they're not changing their idea, but I mean, they could run out of damage pretty fast, especially if no one goes down again bottom.
I think that's inevitable, whether we like it or not. They've triggered the global silence. Oh, Ponlo doesn't frostbite him before he gets off the Earthshock. So he is able to escape here. Okay, a little bit of a misplay coming in from the side of Alliance. They even triggered the global to make that happen. So that should have been a kill, but they don't find it. They might be able to bring down Thompson, however, as he did walk underneath an Observer Ward. But they're just gonna spend some time farming. Also, if this game ends and Omni Knight, I feel like no matter what the context is, if Omni Knight is your highest damage dealer in the game, you've got problems. That just shouldn't be happening.
Again, S4 just TP's out. He understands that there's no way for them to cancel his TP. Chuen, though, he's the one that's in trouble.
He should be fine here. Gets the Astral Step away after the Dissimulate. Ponlo actually freezing fields and forces out a Supernova from this Phoenix. But Charlie, he's the one that just TP'd in. He has no help behind him. Hanskin has already popped the Global Silence. So Charlie, he's just gonna die. S4, though, comes in to reveal the Blink Dagger, jumping in onto Kitrak. But they won't be able to find the kill. Chuen almost dies to the Arcane Curse. He just survives on 18 HP. Woo! Close call. But he does manage to survive. If there was one more point into Arcane Supremacy from the Rubik, that would have actually been a kill. But he got very, very lucky that Aramis is only level 7 rather than level 8.
Yeah, that was very spicy there for Chuen. And you can see that the Void Spirit's still having issues at surviving in this game. S4, Preston picked up Blink Dagger. Probably not the hero you want to be going on here, buddy.
He wants to try to get the deny on the tower. He won't be able to do so. They pop the Stampede as well, going back onto Thompson, but it gets stolen away. Aramis on it on this Rubik, and they manage to kill off the Centaur. Chuen dissimulates in 1 second. Triggers it off. In which direction is he gonna go? Not far enough away. Nice reflection from Charlie. As they turn onto Thompson with this right click damage, they will be able to bring down the Omni. Seb, though, finds 2 heroes with the stun. Unfortunately for him, Ponlo is here with the freezing Frostbite to get onto this Alchemist. Will he escape? Another Frostbite holds him in position, and they just kill him off. Ponlo
Chuen said.
looking for another freeze. Chuen does end up getting brought down by the Fade Bolt from Aramis, but Aramis will pay for this with his life as well. They go 3 for 1 on this one, and Alliance finally get to punish OG, because it feels like for the last few minutes OG has just been toying with them, but they finally find the strength to play back.
Yeah. Really nice little TP there from Charlie to be able to come into that fight, pop the Metamorphosis, get himself a couple of kills, get him involved in a couple of kills as well is very important for the Terrorblade. As Dragonlance Yasha build up, I'd imagine you're just going to be going directly into the Skadi from here on out, and then start to become a very hard hero for them to deal with. We haven't really seen a full 5v5 just yet because no one still has to be on the farming duties. So that's to try and get himself towards the Battle Fury, which is only about 300 gold away. So it's not the worst time Battle Fury, considering his lane. I think that's the biggest thing, is his lane went abysmally. And he's still able to come out with like a 14, 15-minute Battle Fury. So it's not the end of the world for the Ursa in a game that feels like it's going to be a pretty good Ursa game. So I'm excited to see whether or not it will turn out that way, especially with this kind of like utility support Alchemist behind him. He's going to have a lot of these good auras early on in a game like this.
Rough game for this Ursa, but like you say, he is recovering. Also, rough game for Chuen on this Void Spirit. 2 games in a row now that we've seen difficulty emerging for the Void Spirit. In the previous game, Thompson did decide to angle towards getting himself a Dagon, I believe, at some point in the game, as he was building into it.
I think he went first item Dagon. Yeah,
your Dagon, Kaya, Aghanim Scepter, right? Very different build from Chuen. He's going right now for Echo Saber first. Is there any possibility, Fluke, any possibility that we're going to see a young Harpoon come in from this Void Spirit?
Potentially. Maybe. Do I hate it? That's the question. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. You know, obviously being a universal hero, it means that it opens up a lot of these item builds for something like a Void Spirit, because you don't care what stats you get, really. You just want to make sure that the items that you are building are useful for your scenario. And I do like the Echo Saber build. It gives you a lot of slow on Astral Step, but you're playing into an Alchemist and Omni Knight heroes that are able to purge off a lot of those slows.
Top lane. Chuen, if he can find this fight, there's a lot more gold incoming. They get the global silence off. Thompson able to get it off with the early H-Grace, but unfortunately Pondlo, perfect positioning for the freezing field. He will be able to escape away from this Ursa. No one does eventually kill him off. And S4, because they couldn't kill Thompson, Thompson brings him down instead. Great counterplay option coming in from OG. And now they're stacking up for the Roshan. It's on the dire side. 3 minutes until he goes back towards bottom. So ample opportunity for the side of OG to take him down. Even getting some minus armor off of this acid spray. Phenomenal fight from OG. And a lot of this off the back of this Thompson hero just being unkillable in the middle of that fight, but they jump in. Oh no! Will they be able to get this? No. Chuen, look for the steal. Unfortunately, won't be able to find it. Hanskin also found a very nice Arcane Curse. But regrettably, OG a little bit too strong right now. As they get the Aegis, they get the kill onto Chuen, and they still get to maintain pressure and control of the map right now.
Yeah, that was a nice little play. I'm not quite sure if it was the right play, but it was a good job, especially if they're able to steal it. I think if they're able to get like a kill plus steal it, I think that would be a really big play coming in from Alliance. They know that they're behind right now and they need to try and do anything they can to get back into this game, but you can just see the issues that they're having with damage is they just don't have the amount of damage to deal with the Ursa, they don't have the amount of damage to deal with the Omni Knight. The fact that Thompson was able to get off the Global Silence with the Heavenly Grace onto his Rubik is kind of big. So, OG, they're playing really well here in this game number 2.
We're going to have some 2 kills happening all across the map. Silencer dies top, courtesy of some Observer wards being dropped down by the side of OG, in particular Kitrak. Unfortunately for them, Alchemist also dies, and now no one. He's in an awkward place. He doesn't have an Aegis, but he doesn't have a BKB for the second life. So if they can kill him the first time around, life gets difficult. Thompson will delay that happening though, but there's no way they keep him alive. At least once, maybe twice though. As Thompson is eating some right-click damage from this Metamorphosis Terrorblade. Nice little Sunray coming in from Kitrak with the lift back. Sunder will ensure that this Terrorblade stays alive and they turn around and kill off Thompson. The Supernova, how many heroes will it stun? It only stuns the TB. Global Silence, they can't follow up on that stun. They get 2 heroes inside the Arcane Curse. The Yule Scepter will be nice, but it only sets Kitrak up to be caught in by the Void Spirit. Somehow though, the Rubik is still up, and Seb finds 3 heroes with the Unstable Concoction. Enables no one to find himself a double kill. His team to clean up 4. And Alliance have to run with their tail between their legs. What a turnaround from the offlane Alchemist.
Yeah, Alliance, they're running into some issues now with their team fighting, right? They just don't have the damage that they need to be able to convert onto these heroes. Thompson's doing a really, really good job at making sure that he is a very scary hero in these fights. That fight probably went a little differently if no one didn't have the Aegis. Obviously, you can see how kited he gets in some of these fights, but Egg gets popped, Heavenly Grace gets popped onto some of these heroes, and it's very, very hard for Alliance to fight. You know, Chuen, he needs to be in the middle of these fights, but he really doesn't want to be anywhere close to the Ursa or the Omni Knight. And then even if Seb was alive for that fight as well, that means that they would have had a few more of these auras floating around, but they just didn't have those in that fight. And you can just see there's a lot of card ability coming in from Alliance with their heroes, but they're just lacking on the damage front right now, and Alliance are trying to fight their way back into this, but it's hard to get kills.
Speaking of kills, one ends up happening onto Ponlo. As we come back into reality, we just saw OG showing off their execution a little bit in that prior fight. Now they have to try and get the... Oh, they're actually just going to steal the Joey Tormentor. So Joey Tormentor stolen away. Phoenix gets an Aghanim shot. It's a huge deal that this is a hero that gets the shot. Supernova now has a Sunray without having to expend or cost yourself. OG, man. Showing us what they're made of. Game 1, difficult for them. We mentioned want to see them play heroes that can make more happen on the map. And they took that to heart. And they're certainly making it all happen. And somehow Thompson still doing really well on this Omni Knight. They just quickly bring down the silencer, dead in a blink of an eye. They're also going to look for Chuen. Dissimulates away, does have astral step charges. Uses up into the air thanks to Kitrak. Does he get the first jump away? He does. But here comes the jump in. Ponlo with the freezing field being covered by the buyback global silence. It enables them to bring down both supports, but they want more out of this. They have one more astral step charge, and they disseminate Aether Remnant combo in 1 second. But they don't want to jump too far forward though. They don't have enough vision to confidently make that assertion. So Alliance get 2 supports off of this, but this is not cheap for them to be able to pick this one up. And if I'm OG, I still feel okay with these set of events, even if I end up losing my 2 supports.
Yeah, they still are able to keep no one alive. It was a buyback and an ultimate used from Hunskin as well. One thing now is Charlie has the Skadi, so these fights are going to get a little easier for them. Chuen is still really struggling to find any course of item this time around. He's going to go for an Orchid. Maybe I feel like he should just try and go like BKB or something like that and tank up a little bit. Maybe along the lines of like an Aghanim Scepter would have been nice as well. I think it's relatively similar. Oh, speaking of Chuen, okay. I thought there was more heroes around him. I think it's relatively similar cost. I know Orchid is very, very cheap right now. Yeah, 3.4k, so what? You spend an extra 800 gold and you get yourself like an AoE silence that tanks you up a little bit. Yeah. I mean, it's not bad, but they are definitely having issues fighting right now.
You see, a stun goes out onto S4. It literally came at the last second of the unstable concoction. They should be able to kill him off very, very easily. They take the tier 2 tower. What's hilarious is that if he stayed in the trees for literally half a second more, he doesn't die. But you poke out, you get killed. Dota 2, game of margins, what can you do? And this is going to be the tier 2 tower taken away. And the BKB for Ursa, fam. It's just arriving in now from the courier.
Yeah, they're starting to get their big items, right? Like Seb's got his double auras online. He's going to get close to a Blink Dagger very soon. Probably just farm up this creep camp and he should have it. What's Thompson got? He's got his own Echo Saber with, you know, half a BKB done, so he's a little far away. But, you know, the fact that Kitrak got himself a shard means that his egg is going to be a whole lot scarier than what it used to be. He's got Yules to be able to get himself out of Global Silence as well. And Aramis is getting close to a Lotus Orb, so he can help some buddies out as well. So there is definitely a lot of items that are suddenly going to come up here for Old G. Did they take their own Tormentor as well? Yes, they did. So Rubik got his shard off the back of that as well. So they've got the shards of both their supports. They've got the items starting to come up for them now. But it's about if OG can win these fights convincingly, because Alliance, they definitely have good ways of picking them off with, you know, a Terrorblade with the Skadi now going in towards the Nullifier and all that kind of stuff. So they definitely have ways of picking them off, but LG, they've shown us so far with this net worth lead, they are very scary when it comes to team fighting. Yep.
We're going to try to bring down Ponlo. He should be fine.
Okay.
There's no Basher, and there's not that much damage out of your Thompson Omni Knight. By the way, this is, surprisingly enough, his 3rd Omni Knight game. The last time he played Omni Knight was in 2021, January. So he's played this before, has yet to win on it. Okay. So a win here would represent not just something interesting and new for this particular patch, but some new history being set for his professional career. As his team stacking up to try and control the area down bottom so they can secure this tier 2 tower. Make sure that they have control of those wisdom runes when they eventually come up. What's really scary for me though, Fluke, is the fact that their lineup on the side of OG, despite having won so many successful team fights, are still fairly lackluster when it comes to bringing down objectives on the map. It's only really the Ursa that wants to post up and hit these things. So that means that Alliance gets bought artificially quite a bit of time. Even though they're behind in net worth, behind in fighting capability right now, it still feels hard for OG to press on them and actually end the game before these heroes get more net worth and allow them to maybe fight back.
Yeah, it's kind of the same story that I was telling for OG in Game 1, right? Like, all it takes is a couple of good team fights and Alliance are going to be able to take a lot of these objectives, and that's why I think that you can see that they don't feel too pressured right now. Charlie's well ahead when it comes to where his Terrorblade needs to be in this game, and he's ahead of the Ursa as well, so as long as he is starting to get towards the critical mass of items for this Terrorblade, then they can start to win these fights and pull off the back of that. Like, Chuen eventually will get his items. Like, he's got the Orchid now. So in some of these fights, you can definitely try and pick off some of these supports. You know, once the Phoenix uses off the global silence, you can go in towards the back with his Orchid, be able to catch out the Phoenix before the egg. And that's a lot of their team fight kind of gone, right? Like once the egg's out for Old G, then there's not really much they have in the way of team fighting. And I think Alliance understand that. And that's really going to be Chuen's job this time around. Find and assassinate the Phoenix.
Yep.
Ursa's going to get kited by the Skadi. They've got Stampede as well. Alk doesn't do any damage. Omni doesn't really do that much damage either. So it's all about making sure that they kill these big team fighters as well as kiting around the Ursa.
Right now, no one's Ursa. Uber farmed. Just farming away. He's about to get a Basher coming in off the courier as well. So a massive risk to anybody that comes across him. Definitely the strongest hero on the map, despite not having the most net worth. But Alliance, they're gonna smoke up. They do have a scan if they want to trigger it, but it's gonna be too late. Dude, this is actually so sad. They smoked up to try and catch OG when they were still farming in their own triangle, but they didn't get there in time. So as a result, Roshan goes the way of OG, but they still want to fight here for Alliance. Maybe hoping for a pick-off or two on the back end. This Alchemist, he is kind of isolated here, so if they jump in, they can potentially kill him. S4 will make the decision. They commit onto Sim, and they will be able to break down the Alk. Well, at least he can tell his team, boys, space. I know where they are. I found them. I know where they're at. But he does end up dying and giving away some intelligence and gold over towards Alliance.
Yeah, it seems like they still want to fight, though. No one has come top. Another 35 seconds until Seb is back alive and ready. Is this really a fight that you want to take here for Old G? They don't have Kitrak. He's at the bottom side of the map. Does not have a TP. Can go towards the Twin Gate, but Twin Gating behind Alliance right now can be a bit spicy for a support.
No really great
hold the
spells by the
seems.
Lubric. Yeah, I think they're going to deny the tower. It is in deny range right now. But they might try hold and force a fight in this area. I mean, this tower means nothing, right? So you don't care that much even if the enemy gets the gold off it. And they're chasing. Last time around, they found themselves getting picked off after Alliance clocked the fact that they didn't muster a full team retreat. Looks like Alliance is very cognizant of what just happened in the top lane as they retreat en masse, get as far away from that area as humanly possible. Might still get caught here. Seb can trigger the unstable concoction, throws it out, finds the Void Spirit. Void getting lifted back. Do they find the first hit bash? Of course they do. Of course they do. No one presses his bash button and gets the kill. And that's a Void Spirit down and out. And they're not done just yet here, Fluke. They want to chase for more. Ponlo picks up a Wisdom Rune, and they really want him, but I don't think they're going to get him. Still, very big pick-off onto Chuen, keeping him still at the bottom of the net worth of all the cores in the game.
Yeah, that's a little unfortunate for Chuen. Nighttime, he dissimulated in further towards the Alchemist, and he loses his life after getting a first hit bash, so that's a bit rough, but if you're Alliance, you're probably going to be sitting back and not wanting to fight them anyways. Right now, it just means that Chuen isn't able to have that sweet farming time. So Charlie's getting towards this scary point of this TB. He's got the Nullifier. He's going to have a Butterfly very soon. No one is eons away from an MKB. So they're really going to have to struggle to try and kill this Terrorblade in these fights. They will have a Radiance on their Omni Knight in a decent amount of gold. So maybe that's their way of dealing with the Butterfly. But I think Charlie, as long as he can able to play himself away from like the Phoenix egg, and you know, if Chuen's doing his job to be able to catch out the Phoenix, then Charlie's in a good spot. But OG, it's about when they want to start to execute their plan, right? Like when do they start to feel like they're strong enough to post up and be able to get rid of some of these tier 2 towers and maybe some more of the objectives on the map? Because as you said, it's only really the Ursa is the one that wants to start hitting these buildings, because your Alchemist is much more. If Alchemist wants to play in the back with his Blink Dagger, so it's going to be hard for them to close out this map against Alliance, especially when Tormentors are coming up soon, I'd imagine. That's one thing that I'm kind of annoyed that Valve didn't add is like a UI thing about, when the Tormentors are going to be back up. So now one appears, and they should be able to get through it.
Yep. We have one up on the Radiant, on the Dire side rather.
The Radiant one should be up just afterwards, right?
Yeah. Should come fairly shortly as well. We are getting some big pickups on the side of OG. No one is building in towards having this MKB so that they can deal with this Butterfly that will eventually emerge. And I do like that Seb is going for a Heaven's Halberd because he knows that the Terrorblade really hates playing into any kind of evasion. And he hasn't gone for BKB just yet, so you put this on him, that's a significant duration of the fight where this hero does nothing. The Illusions can still have some influence, but they'll have influence on other heroes, not necessarily on the Alchemist. And speaking of the Alch, almost got himself killed off down bottom. S4 cannot find the jump with the Hoofstomp. There will be a telekinesis from Aramis, but he doesn't want to go all in. Chuen though, he'll go all in. They pop the Global Silence, they bring down Aramis. But this is just a support kill. No one pops BKB. He's taking some damage in from this Metamorphosis. They really want Charlie. Charlie gets himself stunned up. Charlie, can they help him out? He has Sunder in a couple of seconds. Nice freezing field from Ponlo to kill off the Phoenix. And they're still chasing Charlie. The Sunder's up to survive the middle of the fight. In the meantime, though, Thompson pops his own BKB, trying to make magic happen as they kill off the Silencer. His BKB is about to finish, though. Dragged back in by the Aether Remnants. Oh, no. That happened literally as the BKB went down. And as he dies, the fight options for OG end with him, as they have to bounce a hasty retreat. The Aegis will expire, but unfortunately for OG, there's a creep wave coming in and a meta Terrorblade, so the tier 2 tower will almost certainly fall after this. Oh no, meta ended, never mind, they're gonna run.
Yeah, they're just going to try and secure some more of these objectives around the map. As we said, Tormentors are up. They should have a good space, at least being able to clear out some of the wards in their jungle and really trying to get their lanes back under control. That was a 16 fight, though, coming in from Alliance. Whether they played around that, they understood that they just cut out the Ursa, kill the Phoenix. They killed both of the supports. Chuen went directly in onto Aramis, was able to take down the Rubik. And then Kitrak, he got caught by the second initiation with the Blink Hoofstomp coming in from S4. So Alliance, they're doing a sick job right now at really out-team fighting OG in these previous fights. No one just was not able to stick on the Terrorblade at all. And if you're just constantly force stuffing away from the Ursa, it's kind of what I said a bit beforehand, right? This Alchemist, he's not a carry. Like he's not dealing the damage. So he's not the one that's like going in and being like, oh crap, I need to get away from this Alchemist. You're much more like, Ursa is the end-all and be-all of their like kind of physical burst for this Terrorblade to have to be worried about. So as long as he's like constantly getting the Skadi debuff on the Ursa, and he has a lot of force stuffs and the Bob coming in from the Ponlo and the Crystal Maiden, he'll be perfectly fine. And as they're just not fighting into Egg, as long as they're not fighting into anything that the Rubik steals, Alliance are going to have much better team fight because they have that Blink initiation coming in from the Centaur.
S4 Centaur, we saw this in the prior tour as well. It was much, like in the prior tour, it was kind of crazy. Almost all the games they'd win would come off of that hero. But now Charlie pushing in here, will he be able to get himself out? The stun will be there from the Unstable Concoction. They just blink onto Pondo. They can't kill him off just yet. Charlie got lifted back, but they did not have the lockdown. This has been a persistent problem of their draft, and you mentioned at the beginning of this game, OG just really struggle with holding these heroes in position long enough for the damage to come out. Alliance exploit that by putting some pressure on the tower and then just getting out scot-free.
Yeah, they're able to keep Charlie alive outside of that initiation. I thought maybe they might be able to catch the Terrorblade, but they still have the Global Silence available. They still have the Sunder, they still have the Stampede, they still have all their 4-stars available. So Alliance, again, doing a really, really good job with just forcing things out of OG, forcing them to fight them when they don't really want to. They do have the MKB up now on no one, so he is a scary hero for Charlie to deal with. But knowing that there is no Egg available, they can walk up the high ground here, and Charlie is going to get himself the first tier 3 of the game.
They're coming in with a smoke on the side of OG. They want to try and counter this.
Oh
Big jump onto Kitrak. He's already gone. No one jumped into the fight, but this is a dangerous place to be for the Ursa. He has to pop this BKB just to mostly run away. Only got like 3 or 4 right clicks out. Everybody on Alliance, mostly on max HP. They did pop Stampede though, to make sure that they could get away from the buyback of the Kitrak Phoenix. I mean, you still take this. Buyback committed. You kill this Phoenix again. Suddenly there will be no Egg no matter what for some substantial portion of time. So Alliance don't really feel hard done by not getting more out of that fight. I think they're decent, but at the same time, look top, bro. They got a very massive push going for the side of OG. Man, I really wish that this Alchemist had a bit more damage to his name. Because Thompson certainly he just can't be that hero. It's an Omni Knight, right? You don't expect that from an Omni Knight. But right now it's feeling like no one has to expend so much of his BKB just getting close to the fight. He can't use it to buy space and time and have someone else deal damage. It's just a hard game for OG at this point in time in terms of their decision making and execution in the team fights.
Yeah, it is like, I like the build coming in from Seb, the fact that he's able to hit these timings at much faster times than a lot of the other offlaners are, but you can just see the issues that they have, right, with the fact that Ursa is kind of their end-all be-all damage, and this TB is very good at kiting him out, and it's hard for them to commit into these fights because they just don't have the right kind of heroes to be able to keep people in place for the Ursa. So that's why, you know, I did really like the final couple of bans coming out from both of these two teams for OG and Alliance. I think they both would have loved to have had Puck. Maybe it would have been nicer to see like Topson have like an Invoker to be able to enable their Ursa if they want to go for this kind of insane buff up strat. Maybe the lane might not have been too good into the Void Spirit, but haven't really seen the power of this Topson Omni Knight just yet. I haven't really just seen him, you know, run down somebody and just burst them with a lot of damage that he comes from Hammer of Purity as well as his Shard.
The genius of Topson will eventually come. We will see the rationale. I mean, he won his lane against the Void Spirit and was performing admirably in the earlier portions of the mid game, but the later we scale, the easier the game has become for Alliance as they're coming in for another fight right now. Underneath the cover of the smoke, what can they find? Oh no, worst case scenario, they found Topson. They didn't stun him up with the Aether Remnant though, so he does get off his BKB. Alliance have already popped the Stampede as well. Ponlo trying to run himself away, but Topson's BKB is running low, so he might find himself frostbitten up. No one, his BKB is already finished. Aether Remnants will drag him back into position. There's the Global Silence with some more right clicks from the Terrorblade. They've gotten themselves the kill. S4, he stuns out this Rubik, who stole the Stampede. Pops it to try and get Topson away from the fight, but even Topson dies to the output of Chuen. A double kill for the Void Spirit, and S4 not done just yet. He wanted to jump forward, but they have bigger fish to fry. The big man is available. A Roche with the cheese and a refresher shot is theirs for the taking. And Fluke, despite the decent early mid-game for the side of OG, Alliance is back on it right now. And Charlie, yet again, is the strongest hero on the map by quite some distance, with almost 30k in net worth at the 38-minute mark.
Yeah, I think Alliance understand that they've hit this nice timing with the items that they have. They have like this Lincoln Sphere out on Chuen, so it means that the Terrorblade is going to be harder to catch. And the fact that he has like, you know, this Nullifier plus the Butterfly is very hard for them to fight into the TB. So I like that Alliance are just go, go, go. Whenever they have their spells available to them, they are more than happy to fight. And again, no one, he's just having so many issues at utilizing his BKB. He ran directly at Charlie with his BKB, but didn't get a bash. Wasn't able to stay on top of him, and he just gets kited out. And he knows that as soon as his BKB starts to wear thin, that it is too hard for him to stay in these fights because he's going to get frostbitten, he's going to get hoof stomped, he's going to get, you know, dash through with the Astral Step. Like, there is a lot of spells that make this Ursa's life hell, and albeit it is a very good carry-to-carry matchup for the Ursa, he just has issues with the rest of the team fight because he doesn't really have anybody else that wants to go in and fight with him. The fact that, you know, Topson does have his own Blink Dagger, but he just isn't able to get on top of people. He doesn't really have, like, a Radiance or anything like that to be able to sit in this fight and burn people down. He does have the Cloak of Flames, but they are really reliant on Ursa finding somebody and catching them. But with Alliance being on the front foot, it's all too hard for OG to be able to find a good initiation for themselves because Alliance are the ones that are, like, Blink stomping somebody and starting the fight with Global Silence.
The game also gets much harder for the side of OG because they have double Nullifier, fam. They got one on the Void Spirit as well. So two Nullifiers, which means that Heavenly Grace will not offer you any reasonable amount of protection. They don't even have a 4-star, but the Yules from Kid Track won't protect them either. And they're actually jumping in for a fight. Charlie doesn't have a Blink Dagger. Chuen, though, does have initiation. Oh no. Seb. He jumps in. They get the Lincoln stun, but he needed to just pop something lest he stun himself. But unfortunately, Charlie there with the Terror Wave. S4 follows up with the stun onto Topson. They don't have the additional stun though, so they do get up the Supernova from this Phoenix as well as the ultimate on the Omni Knight. Global Silence will be there from Alliance. They turn their attention back towards this Ursa. Yules up onto Kid Track, jump back in from the fight is Chuen. He really wants to bring down the Phoenix. He will manage to do so. They do kill Phoenix or the Silencer, but it might not matter for this fight. No one cannot stick onto S4 because they have the 4 stars available to keep him alive. And Topson also chasing after the Centaur. but he only finds his own death. The pursuit not worth it. Alliance well with it. And OG yet again find themselves losing 4. And this might translate into either a buyback or a straight up lost lane of racks in this bottom lane.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy that Alliance have been able to fight their way back into this game, and that was looking a little spicy. Not gonna lie, for that fight, I thought that they were gonna get caught out. They got the egg off from Kidtrack. They're in a good position. They didn't really get caught out all too much by the global silence, but it was just a good disengage coming in from Alliance. They're able to just pull back. They're able to get themselves into a good position where they had their TB just hitting away, doing everything they needed to with the Skadi available. And these nullifiers, man, what a sick pickup from Alliance. It's something I didn't even really think about. I didn't think it was going to be much of an issue, but yeah, these nullifiers were sick pickups from both Charlie and Chuen, and they are just starting to tear through these fights. Maybe they can get a good fight going their way now.
They can't even kill off Pondo. Seb just does not have the punching power to do so. And they're now going to turn their attention towards him. Aramis lifts himself away from the fight. Chuen will still chase him and kill him. And Seb has no such repositioning option, so he just dies. They come in with this Ursa. Cheese gets popped by Chuen to keep him alive. But Charlie almost loses his first life. Still alive. 4 stops away. Glimmer Cape on. Somehow they can't even kill this Terror Blade. Life number 1 is still very, very healthy from him. Chuen can easily get himself out of the fray as well. And those were buybacks committed to try and get this kill onto both No One as well as Aramis. And they don't find anything. Like, I feel if you kill Pomlo after 2 buybacks, that doesn't even count as a victory for you. You feel like you've definitely just put yourself behind.
Yeah, I mean, they've been behind for like the last, 15 minutes, I think, here for OG. They just haven't been able to convert any of this net worth into anything. And now this game is starting to get very, very difficult. Like, how do they kill TB? Like, he has Sanj Nyasha, he has a Butterfly, he has a Skadi, he has Aegis now for 30 seconds. Like, S4 is extremely tanky with like a Crimson Guard and Halberd. They've always got Stampede to be able to cover him. And then you have to try and kill Chuen, who did go the Harpoon, by the way. Does have the Harpoon ready and done. So, very excited to see what that's going to look like for a Void Spirit.
Oh no, well, they jump right now onto this Ursa. The Global Silence is committed out right now. Nullifier onto the Rubik. They do end up finding that kill. They really wanted Ursa, but they're just going to leave him alone for now. Thompson jumping forward. There's a Supernova as well, dropped by Kidtrack. Can they hold these heroes in position long enough for it to pop? Charlie, beautiful Terror Wave to send the heroes back just before the Supernova would come off. So even if it did stun him up, there'd be no potential for a follow-up. Excellent play from Alliance. Nobody dies, even though the Aegis expires. And they're just chilling, man. Still get to maintain 2 racks advantage. Although they might wait until the game is over, but they just smoke up Fluke. They're looking for a fake back to maybe end this game immediately.
Yeah, Alliance, I love the killer attitude they've had in this whole series, and I think that's something that maybe they may have lacked in some of the other series, is like kind of going to the throat. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. They're super far ahead. They want to get these kills.
They jump Thompson. They get him with the Nullifier as well. There will be no H grace for you, my friend. Nor is there any buyback. You're right. He is 1,300 short of buyback. He bought out completely for the overwhelming blink. So now the only big teamfight spot they have left is Kidtrack with the Supernova. He had to pop the refresher orb that he just picked up just to try and make this happen. Seb channeling the stun. Throws it onto some illusions. It will stun up both the Terror Blade and the Centaur, but it doesn't threaten them away from that fight. Rubik up in 3 seconds, and this might be the only time to fight. Seb jumping in, finding the stun onto TP. They can't even find the Supernova just yet. There's the Yule Scepter. It finally does come out. Zoning these heroes away, but they'll Stampede. Oh, they actually just kill off the Supernova. Like they're unconcerned whatsoever. They're jumping onto No One. Global Silence will cover their approach. He's forced to pop BKB, but there's no BKB for Aramis. As he gets jumped on, he gets rinsed down. He gets wiped out. No buyback available for him. And as soon as the BKB from No One expires, he dies as well. 2 minutes in the grave, but they won't even wait for the 2-minute timer because they just throw in the towel. GG, well played. Alliance guarantee themselves 4th place, get this W, and send Alliance, or OG rather, into a lower bracket tiebreaker, Fluke. Who could have seen this coming? Their TI champions would be hanging on for their Div 2 lives by a mere thread right now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I really do enjoy that series coming in from Alliance. They drafted really, really well. They played off the back of this Charlie Terror Blade. And that game too really gave me a lot of extra hope for Alliance going into 2 or 3. The fact that they were relatively far behind in that game, but they understood exactly what kind of item timings they wanted to go for and how they needed to play these team fights was exactly what I was looking for. They were getting a lot of really good combinations. I think this fight was the biggest one that I saw. They understood. They go directly into the back. They get rid of Kitrak. They just make sure that they keep Charlie alive long enough that he gets a Sunder off and just constantly kites around no one. And the way that they team fought and the way that their team composition really worked this time around, I have a lot of high hopes here for Alliance to be able to get themselves in 2 or 3 and hopefully get themselves a promotion going in towards Division 1, because they've really started to improve across this tour. Unfortunately, some of the series that were 2-1s definitely could have put them in much better position to have chance for tiebreakers to go in towards Division 1. You know, I'm looking back at some of the series that they played. What was one of their unfortunate losses that they had? You know, they had some games up against Team Secret that they definitely could have won that series. They had a series up against D2 Hustlers that went all the way to 3 maps. So some of those other series that they had in their division, they definitely could have got the dub, and maybe if things went their way in those series, maybe if things looked a little bit different for them, they could be, you know, going for their promotion into Division 1. But, you know, they should be super proud with how they ended this tour here. They came in with some new ideas and really kind of out-team fought OG, I think, in this final game.
Yep. This last game, they just had their number. They knew exactly who the targets were, like you were mentioning. The itemization was perfect as well. And honestly, I just think one of the issues we saw is that, yet again, OG, we saw... Do you remember that game where they played Thompson mid with the Snapfire? Where he had a phenomenal start, completely dumpstered his opposition. He had like, he was highest net worth at the 10-minute mark. He was highest net worth at the 15-minute mark. But at the 30-minute mark, he was like second lowest of all the cores in the game. Just could not have the same progression throughout it. It feels very similar with the Zombie Knight. There just comes a point where things don't necessarily pan out for you in that same way. The same comes in from the Alchemist. His itemization, I liked it, but unfortunately, it did mean that Ursa has to do everything for the lineup. And Ursa is just not that hero. Like, he's just never been that hero. Like, yes, he can be that hero that dominates the fight, but 1v5, basically, in terms of damage output, you don't rely on Ursa to give you that for the game. Well, now that it's done, give me an MVP here, Flu. I don't want to give it to Charlie because he played so well, dude. But maybe Ponlo, actually. Let's give it to Ponlo. My boy Ponlo had a really good game on this CM.
I could see either of the two in that offlane. I think S4 or Ponlo are definitely ones that put it up there. I think there was a lot of fights that Ponlo did really well at just keeping his heroes away from some of the dangers in those team fights and being able to constantly cut around the Ursa too. I noticed a few times in those team fights that he was even frostbiting during the BKB of the Ursa, but he was frostbiting at a time where the BKB would wear off and then the frostbite would still go through. So it's really cool seeing the way that he was playing the Crystal Maiden. I was hoping to see maybe some of his Earth Spirit or maybe even some of his techies today, but at the end of the day, they got the dub with the Crystal Maiden. And yeah, the way that they played that offlane was sick. I think that Ponlo as well as S4 are really coming together as this duo in the offlane, and they put the foot down today. I don't think they played scared at all in this offlane, and it's really good to see that they have a lot of confidence in themselves and a lot of confidence going up against a team like OG. Like, sometimes you go into these series, even though, you know, S4 is a TR winner himself, like, you go into some of these games where you're playing up against some of these like major winners and TI winners and all that kind of stuff, and you get yourself a little bit nervous and a little bit caught up in the gravitas of the players that are in the server, rather than, hey, my hero is really, really good in this lane, and my hero does a lot of burst damage and is able to kite a lot of these heroes really, really well. And they just abused no one, man. Like, he did not have a game this time around. Like, he died like 4 or 5 times before he got his Battle Fury, and then he had to sit back and farm. And by the time he got towards the mid game, he was just being frostbitten, he was being stampeded away from, he was being blink hoof stomped, he was getting halberted as well, 4-staffed away. Like, it was a really, really good game for both Ponlo and S4.
Yep. And not made it easier for no one by the fact that because they recognize that, wait a second, he's the only damage option, we just have to focus him. Let Thompson do what he wants. Let Seb do what he wants. There were so many fights where Seb and Thompson are just like running around, being like, well, what can we actually do here? No one's just being kited way too much. Really great play coming in from them. I must say as well, like you mentioned him on Ponlo being able to get off some clutch frostbites towards the tail end of BKB durations, but also his usage of Freezing Field. There were only 2 occasions it felt like throughout this entire game where there were supernovas that meant well for OG, that enabled them to be able to fight further, that gave them an advantage in the team fight. I think at least 4 of them, maybe even 5, were forced out by Ponlo, popping Freezing feeling like this very awkward position. And then they're like, well, we might even have to spend a second or two of a BKB attacking Ponlo on this Crystal Maiden rather than trying to win out the fight elsewhere. And that buys additional time for the rest of the lineup on Alliance to get this dub. So they get the dub. They look quite clean doing it. And I must say, Alliance right now, a guaranteed 4th position, as we spoke about. Where was this form a little bit earlier in the season? They've been a bit shaky, to be fair. They will end the season 4-3, which is a very respectable score by any estimation. One thing I am a little bit concerned about for them is the fact that they still Fluke look the best when they have S4 on one of his 3 heroes, Underlord, Tidehunter, or the Centaur. Anytime he plays a different hero, the team looks like they are 1 tier less than they would be under those circumstances. So given that it is a new patch, given that there's still some time before the next tour, do you think they'll be able to adapt in time and find more heroes for him so they're not constrained in their offlane picking phase?
Yeah, I definitely hope so. I think S4 has been one of those players in the past that he's played a magnitude of different roles and he's played a magnitude of different heroes. So I think for him, it's kind of just finding his footing again. He hasn't really been back at the top of his game just yet. And Alliance, to be fair, as a team, haven't been back in the upper echelons for a long time either. So I'm excited to see what they go and do during 2 or 3. To be fair, the games that they lost were against Team Secret, Ancient Tribe, and D2 Hustlers. All 3 of those teams are, potentially being promoted. Obviously, with Ancient Tribe and D2 Hustlers, they're fighting for it tomorrow. So, I mean, they didn't lose any of the teams that were below them, and they only lost the teams that were currently above them on the standing. So, I think it's a really good shout from Alliance. There was definitely a few series that if things started going their way a little bit more, they probably could have had an extra win under their belt, especially that D2 Hustlers series. I felt like that definitely was something they could have won. But at the end of the day, this is how they ended. They ended 4-3, and they end up 4th here in the division. So, I mean, I'm excited to see what an extra bit of time does. I'm excited to see what this practice period during the major as well. The fact that all the teams are in Western Europe right now, they're going to have a lot of practice on this new patch. So, yeah, I mean, really looking forward to 2 or 3 here for Alliance.
Yeah, 2 or 3, I think, for Alliance. We've been seeing them steadily but surely get better throughout the course of the year. Cohesion is starting to build within this roster. And even if they don't wind up in Div 1 next tour, even if they don't go to TI, I do still hope this core trio of players sticks together because there's some potential magic brewing there. Just need to give them a little bit more time to cook. Unfortunately, though, as much as we're admiring them and seeing their potential future, we do have to, unfortunately, say a few things about OG. As a result of this loss, they are now 2-5, so that means guaranteed tiebreaker situation up against PUCChamp. And if they lose that tiebreaker, they'll have to go back into the closed qualifiers if they want a berth here in Div 2 in the next tour. One of the things we saw, of course, is that the last couple of games they played, they were not playing with Resolution. They played one series with Always Wanna Fly. They played this particular series with Aramis. What's your read on the strength of this team when Rez was in the offlane versus Seb in that particular role?
It's a little hard to say because I think they're 2 kind of different offlaners. Rezo is one of those offlaners that is much more carry orientated and plays his heroes like Mirana in the offlane, and he plays like his Timbersaws and these heroes that dominate the lane and then dominate the game off the back of them having a lot of net worth. Whereas Seb is one of those players that has kind of cottoned a lot of these offlane builds, things with like his Magnus, and now that we saw with his Alchemist, that he loves going these like Guardian Greaves, Pipe, and just being these tanky team-focused kind of heroes for his team. So I think it definitely did throw a spanner in the works. They didn't have Rezo for their previous 2 series. They definitely would have loved to have him, especially in a meta like this, where it kind of feels like that the offlane and the safe lane kind of blurring the line between who really is going to be the carries. It's much more about how these lanes do go. And when you have Seb and Rezo, 2 insane laners, I think is a big thing for both of those guys. Like, both of them are very, very good lane players. And if they're able to dominate a lot of these safe lanes, then it feels really good for OG. So they definitely did miss Rezo, I think, in these previous 2 series, but it is no knock against, Always Wanna Fly and Aramis. I think they're amazing players themselves, and it just didn't work out. Western Europe has been as tight as ever.
Yeah, Western Europe is tough, y'all. Not just here in Division 2, in Division 1 as well. We've seen that the gap between these 2 teams, or between any team really, is increasingly getting smaller and smaller, which is a good thing, right? It leads to the strength of this region. I hope none of y'all in the chat don't clamor too much for us elevating Western Europe beyond what we think it's as good. Remember, a few years ago, China was in this exact position of having the strongest overall region, but things can change, Just have to make sure that the region stays strong and stays sustainable. It's much more important than just having massively high peaks at majors or at TI itself. Of course, right now, Western Europe does seem like to be the favored region all across the world. And today, because of this alliance win, we're not going to have tiebreakers in the middle of the pack. We have tiebreakers just to see who stays within Western Europe. It's kind of crazy to me, Fluke, that we end this particular day, right? This is the end of the regular portion of the tour. And we still only have one answer for who goes into Div 1. We still only have one answer for who goes into relegation. Ivy's out, going down. Secret is out, going up. We still have no idea who's going to be joining either of these squads. Just speaks to how competitive this region can be. And it does speak to, Alliance, I kind of feel bad for them in a way, because last tour, they came third and wound up not going into second position because they fumbled in the tiebreakers. This does feel like a little bit of a step back from them, going from third and losing out on tiebreakers to now being fourth, not even in the tiebreaker situation. And not only that, but losing handedly to the teams that are above them. I do really want to see them think very carefully about how to adjust from here and make sure that the team maintains their mental strength going into the third Division 2 tour. Of course, to find out more about how they are progressing on that front, we have a lovely, young, handsome Swede joining us for an interview here. As we have Hansken to say what's up to us once more. Hansken, good sir, hello again. I knew we'd talk to you once more, but we got to get this out the way, Hansken. That series against Ancient Tribe, what happened? The Alliance squad did not seem like y'all were on the same page as you normally have been for the other games in this tour. Can you talk to us about what was going on behind the scenes to not allow you to play at max strength?
I mean, Ancient Tribe series, let me think, what was those games? I think we had a lot of games.
First games on the patch, yeah.
Oh yeah, first games on the patch, true. I think it's just, when there's such a big patch, there could be like, there's a lot of random factors to it, There could be overthinking, underthinking. Maybe you just want to do what you normally do. Maybe you just want to adapt a lot, you know what I mean? And in that game, there was like Chens and different heroes and stuff. And I feel like we played all right, but maybe the strategy wasn't on point. Like, I think it could be improved a lot. And I think we learned a lot how to just, not only the picks, but also like how to play the map, everything, And I think they're honestly better. I thought they came more prepared, I guess, yeah.
Okay. Now that, of course, at the end of the tour, you guys are fourth, you won't be able to get into Div 1, but you're not being relegated either. Have you felt that firstly, have you felt the region was stronger overall here in Div 2? And secondly, how does coming fourth, like, what's the conversation in the camp like relative to what the goals were coming into this tour and what the reality is with the result right now?
Right. Well, so definitely I would say the Div 2 has gotten stronger and stronger every year, at least in Europe, where, Europe is a very deep region right now where we have not only 8 good teams, we have plenty more. Ordo made it to Div 1 last tour, and they almost made the major right away. There's some really strong teams up and coming all the time. So it's definitely gotten stronger. And to address our results, our goal was definitely to make Div 1. And we want to be like a elite level team. So not making it out of Div 2 is not what we aimed for sure. But we just gotta keep grinding and be patient with it. Making a new team doesn't just happen overnight. The team that we had 1 or 2 seasons ago that made TI, we were really, really bad for like the better part of a year before we started doing well in the divisions and eventually going to majors and TI. So it's just a process, and we have new people working with each other, and try to stay patient and hopeful for the future and just keep working, never give up basically.
All right, I like that. I mean, since this is the last series, we actually have a little bit of time. Y'all not going to be playing tiebreakers. So hit me, Hansken. I want to hear a sentence to describe the improvements made from your teammates versus the beginning of the tour up until now. Actually, just pick 2 of your teammates who you think have improved the most, and in what ways have they improved this tour?
Oh, good question. I think I would say Charlie and Ponlo has improved the most. Ponlo has learned a lot how to be in like a structured team, I would say. Although I wouldn't say we're like the most elite structure or whatever, because obviously the results matter. But I think he's learned to be a much better teammate in that sense, and try to fit in, sort of compared to just playing the random SEA type of style. From what I understand, the styles and how leadership works and how teamwork is, it's completely different from SEA to Europe. So he's done a lot of adaptation. And for Charlie, I think he's been doing a good job, just being a leader as a carry, bringing good vibes, bringing good moves, being this really strong voice in the game. also outside, and just being like positive, you know, I can do this sort of vibe. And that's very important to have, you know, I'm big on like everybody believing in each other in the team. So if you're going into war, right, and the biggest guy is making you feel good, he's making you feel confident, you want to follow him. That's a great thing, right? So yeah.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Professor Fluke, what do you got for the Mads while we have him on?
Yeah, I've got a few questions for you, Hanskin. Obviously, congratulations on getting a pretty decisive 2-0 here up against OG. I think coming into this series, I was really hoping to see if you guys put him to the sword today. So my question is, in this game number 2, it seems like you guys really have kind of put together being able to play all together as a team and really play on the same page. Do you think that this is something that you guys have worked on in your pairs? Like, I think this game, S4 and Ponlo played really, really well together. And personally, is there something that you feel like that you've improved on with Charlie in the safe lane as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think when I switched to 5, initially it wasn't pretty at all, but we've actually, that's something we put a lot of work into, just our lanes, the fear behind it, our combos, and just how to play together, understand each other. We've just spent so much time working on that, and it's been improving a lot. Right now we just need to work on, I mean, there's a lot of things to work on for sure, but that's one of the things that we put the most work into, and I think it's showing in our games, although sometimes we have other issues, of course.
Yeah. So another question about this series specifically. Going into this series, it didn't mean as much to you guys as what it did to OG. The fact that, you know, you guys getting the dub just means that you don't have to play tiebreakers, whereas OG, now they're fighting to stay in the division. What's the mentality for you going into a series like this, where it's more about you just kind of not having to play, you know, some best-of-1 tiebreakers?
Yeah, I mean, it's way different because we have no added pressure, right? We're not really playing for a spot, like you said. It's always fun, though, to play against a team that, you know, it matters for them. So we definitely, we're definitely going to show up to the game. We want to make sure that, you know, it's like we end it on a high note, you know, because we're not satisfied not making Div 1, and we want to show to ourselves and the fans that, you know, we can put up a good show. As far as OG goes, I don't know, like, they've had some roster issues right now. They're playing with different players almost every series, so I'm not sure what their state of the team is like. But for us, we treated the game seriously like any other game, even if we were in the tour or not. It's just the benefit of playing this one is that there's no pressure, basically.
It's good to see that you guys are really starting to hit the form towards the end here of the tour. So I got one last question, Hanskin, before I do let you go. Major is starting in about 12 hours or so. Who's your top 3 for the major this time around?
Ooh, that's nice.
Oh, good question. I think Liquid Gaming, it's hard to say that they're not going to be solid, right? They've been dominating everybody basically since before Lima at this point. I think those 2 are going to be for sure in the top 5, if not the top 3. And then I would say LGD also. I think they're really, really strong. I think Shao8 and Y, they're doing a good job with every single team that they're running. It doesn't really matter. Like, everybody speaks about Faith Beyond and Shinkyu, and obviously those guys they're amazing at Dota, right? But I think Shao8 and Y, they have a really good system how to make players work. So yeah, I think those 3.
I have one last question for you, Hanskin. Obviously, you've been playing Dota for many, many, many years at this point, right? At a very high level. What do you think makes you special as a player? In what ways do you, when you observe your own gameplay, in what ways do you think you stand out relative to the rest of the field?
Good question. I think my strength as a player is, like, I would say I'm a pretty good teammate. Like, I care a lot about my teammates' game. I make sure that I enable them. I pay attention to their item timings and stuff, and I'm pretty vocal in that sense. So I'm kind of, I would say, like, I'm sort of the organizer of the team. I make sure that we have smokes prepared for the blink dagger timing, or, you know, keep track of Roshans, whatever, all these things, you know, so that other people can focus more on themselves. I would say that's one of the benefits of having me as a teammate, and just bringing good vibes to the team in general. Yeah.
Hey. Brings good vibes, brings good music, of course, with the recommendations, and of course brings good play. Thank you so much, Hanskin, for giving us your time. Thank you so much for this tour. Obviously, it didn't necessarily go as expected, but there's still one more. So good luck, have fun for that one, and thank you for giving us your attention this evening.
Thanks for having me, and have a good one, guys.
You too. Cheers.
Shout out Hanskin, of course, position 5 player for the side of Alliance. The tour didn't necessarily go as expected, but like you mentioned, Fluke, the teams that beat them are the teams that are either already in Division 1 in the form of Team Secret or teams on the cusp of getting in there in the form of D2 Hustlers and Ancient Tribe. Of course, one of the reasons that we saw Alliance being able to chill is that they did enough against all the other teams. So as much as they weren't able to get further ahead, at the very least, they know what their floor is. They're not stagnating. They're getting, the scene is getting better, to be fair. The other teams around them are better, but they're not necessarily just going lower and lower in the pecking order. So that's nice to hear. And it's nice to hear that they very clearly still have the drive and the desire to win on an individual basis, even if it's not working out just yet. If you have that hunger, eventually you'll come right.
Yeah, and I think you can see that Hanskin is very grounded in his thinking as well. Obviously, he knows that getting in back towards Division 1 isn't going to happen overnight. They're not just going to be major champions just by making a few changes and you know, a new patch and all that kind of stuff. So it is good to see that they've got that drive and they're really starting to work well together. And I think I really saw it in this series today. Like the way that they played in their lanes, the way that they played when it came to the mid-game, coming from behind as well in a game like that really goes to show that they're really working on their team chemistry as well. And I mean, that Ancient Tribe series, both of those games are almost 60+ minutes on a brand new patch. So like, I mean, you can't really blame them for making a few mistakes in a series like that. But as I said, if a few things went their way, then we could be having 3-way tiebreakers for the next promotion spot here with Alliance in the mix as well. So hey, at the end of the day, I think they can be pretty proud with what they've done, and they're really building towards something pretty special here in Western Europe.
Absolutely. They're the only team in Division 2 that did not make any roster changes coming into the tour. True. And of course, it's starting slowly but surely to pay off in their direction as they're building solidity and stability for their roster of players. Of course, we are now officially done with the regular season of the DPC. Division 2 of the second tour completely completed, except for tiebreakers. We still have a few more games to go here. We're not done just yet. And tomorrow we have 2 incredible best of 3s that mean the world to both of these teams. We, of course, end out the day with Old G taking on PuckChamp, a relegation game. Whoever loses out of the division, they have to come back through close qualifiers. Whoever wins gets to stay in the division. And crucially, it's not just about staying in the division, but if you're not in the division, you don't get any prize money. So the team that loses will find that their last 3 weeks will have been for absolutely nothing. But the team that wins gets $7,000 on top of that. So a fairly hefty prize pool to be awarded between these two squads. And a must-win game. Another must-win game though, Fluke. Ancient Tribe and D2 Hustlers. The winner not only finds themselves earning the extra $1,000, $15,000 versus $16,000, but it's going into Div 1. And the important thing about Div 1 isn't just playing up against the best teams in the world. It's that it's your last opportunity to directly qualify for the international. If you can get into Div 1, go to the major, accrue enough points, you can still go to TI directly. If not, if you don't win tomorrow's game, Fluke, you are guaranteed into a sort of qualifier situation heading into TI. That is really, really scary given how stacked Europe is right now. So how do you think that one is going to go, given that Ancient Tribe did get the W when we saw them play D2 Hustlers 2 days ago?
I mean, I'm probably going to have to give a very small edge to Ancient Tribe just based off the previous series, where it seemed like they came in with a much better idea than what D2 Hustlers did. But D2 Hustlers, they've definitely been in their lab. They've had a few days to be able to think about this. They've had a few scrims to be able to figure out some of their issues. And obviously, one of the big issues was the Alchemist in their previous series. So maybe that might be something that they're looking towards here. So going to give a small edge to Ancient Tribe, but I think that's going to be a full best of 3. Whereas the final series, I don't know. I don't know what OG are going to look like as well, because Kitrak, he's also standing in for OG at the major. So he might not be able to play for that final series. And obviously with Rezo standing in as well, so they may have to have 2 stand-ins for a potential relegation series. So OG, they're hurting. They're reeling. They need to pull out some 7 tops of magic to be able to get that one done. And unfortunately today just wasn't the showing that they'd hoped for. And PuckChamp, they've been on an upward trend. So that's probably going to be another 3-mapper as well. So at the end of the day, I feel like it's going to be a long day of Dota, but it's going to be a good day of Dota.
It's absolutely going to be a good day of Dota. And of course, we've seen throughout the course of not just today, but the entire tour that as much as the odds have sometimes been spot on, there have been so many games that are presented to us upsets, which we could never have seen coming. And of course, those odds are brought to us by esportsbet.io, our partner here in bringing you this DPC action. And one of the things that they have been doing, and they have already done, is launching a watch to earn platform, which allows you at home doing what you're already going to be doing, watching your favorite teams play Dota. For every hour that you're engaged in the Watch to Earn platform, you earn 3,000 tokens, which is the equivalent of $3. That allows you to have some reward for being engaged in your favorite game and to be a participant and not just a spectator in making this entire thing sustainable and profitable for the teams involved. So get involved, go on over to esportsbet.io, find out about Watch to Earn and about additional bonuses they have for themselves. With that, Fluke, final thoughts on what this tour has taught us over the last 3 weeks about not just the state of European Dota, but where the game is as a whole right now.
Yeah, I feel like Western European Dota is definitely on an upward trend. Div 1 was relatively close outside of the top couple of teams, and now Div 2 is going down to the wire for teams that are getting promoted and relegated. So I think for people that are in some of these other regions, South America, Southeast Asia, China, North America, just keep fighting. Just keep grinding away, keep toiling away in your region. Eventually it's going to get to the point where everyone's going to have that extra bit of international experience where they're able to bring up the rest of the teams, and then it eventually flourishes into something like this where you've got Western Europe that has 2 full divisions of top tier Dota back to back, and it's really good to see. And I think Dota is such a beautiful esport. The fact that even though that it's been around for 10 plus years now, that we're still looking at it in 2023 as being a healthy ecosystem for these teams to be able to play up against, and we're still getting surprised every day.
Yep. Dota 2 is one of the few things in the world where you can legitimately claim that a rising tide lifts all boats. We've seen it within Western Europe. We have seen it in other regions in the past, and we're hoping to continue to see it going into the future. We also hope to see you tomorrow, because the games here for the tiebreakers will be starting around midday. Pretty much 12 hours from now we'll be getting underway, so do not miss it. 12 o'clock CEST is when we start off these games, and then we get to witness who goes to join Team Secret in promotion and who joins Ivy in being relegated from the division. Until then, please make sure that you hydrate. Please make sure that you keep a positive attitude about the game. And most importantly, please make sure that you show love towards yourself. Also, go ahead and show love towards the people in your life that allow you to love yourself. Call them up, send them a message, let them know how much you love them, let them know how much you love Dota, and then share that love with us in 12 hours tomorrow, right here on the PGL Dota channel. Until then, from myself, Snare, with Mr. Worldwide / Professor Fluke, we'll see you tomorrow to round out Tour 2 of Division 2. Join us for some hype. We'll see you then, and bye-bye.
I'm on Omni.
I stand Omni.
Yeah, first. Kite.
Yeah.
Center. Yes.
I'm globally
He
now.
doesn't have it. Yeah.
I go Phoenix.
I'm part that.
Ursa.
I'm good.
Hitting Ursa.
Ursa mine. Killing Ursa first.
Yeah, I'm on the ground.
I fast the sun.
Rubik 1 hit. Omni next.
Yeah. There's one survive. Blood is made.
Dead.
Nice.
Go more.
No, I'm saving it. I'm saving.
Give me gem now, Simon. Okay, you're dead.
Yeah, I can send it.
Stab me.
Yeah,
I took it.
Oh, you have?
You have.
Watch more, earn more. Full TV.